On the day Sue Anran got married, my beloved leapt from the 18th floor. I opened his studio, and it was filled to the brim with portraits of Sue Anran. The brushstrokes were frantic and raw, yet brimming with his fervent love. A friend said, Chinchilla loved Anran for 10 years. She was once his only light. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Chinchilla cornered in the classroom by the school bully. Silently, I closed the door. Later, he knocked on my window in the pouring rain, his voice hoarse and desperate. Ran, don't you want me anymore? Astrophysics professor Chinchilla recently discovered a new asteroid. However, during an interview, he trended on social media for his strikingly handsome and aloof appearance. The focus of the public's chatter shifted from the asteroid to his almost unnaturally handsome face when they learned the asteroid was named after his beloved. Netizens instantly erupted, praising the fairy tale romance while scrambling to uncover who Ran was. Clutching my phone, I couldn't suppress the grin spreading across my face. At the end of the video, the reporter asked with a smile, Professor Shin, do you have any words for your beloved Ran? Chinchilla froze, his eyes, dark as the night, flickering faintly. Congratulations on your wedding. His tone was calm, yet laced with a barely perceptible, desperate despair. On the verge of collapse, I instantly went rigid. What do you mean, happy newlyweds? Ooh la la, Wei Qing teased from beside me, giving me a playful nudge. Ran, your Professor Shin seems so aloof, but who knew he was such a romantic, treating your anniversary like you're still newlyweds. Is that really what it is? Watching Chinchilla's tender, soulful gaze in the video, my cheeks instantly flushed with heat. I've been by Chinchilla's side for 10 years. I've seen him through, from a gloomy, listless teenager to the refined and distinguished professor he is today. 10 years ago, he transferred to our school and became my deskmate. He was a youth with skin like jade and features like a painting, yet the look he gave me was full of impatience. And now, he named an asteroid after me. When he spoke of his beloved, even his usually stern eyes softened with tenderness and affection. Today is our first wedding anniversary. I curled up on the sofa, my hand resting on my lower abdomen. I was waiting for him to come home so I could tell him the news of my pregnancy right away, and yet what awaited me was the news of Chinchilla's death. He had jumped from the 18th floor. Clutched tightly in his hand was a slip of paper. Death is merely a return to the cosmos. In a billion years, we will meet again among the sea of stars too. Accompanied by Wei Qing, I handled Chinchilla's funeral arrangements. He made a will, stating that all his assets are to be donated after his death. I don't know why, but I've been strangely calm these past few days, seeing Wei Qing with swollen eyes, glaring at Chinchilla's portrait with gritted teeth, yet still forcing herself to comfort me. I almost felt like laughing. After the funeral, I received a call from the lawyer. Mrs. Shen, there is a villa under Mr. Shen's name that is not included in the donation. You can come and handle it when you have time. The villa is located in the southern suburbs of the city. I pushed open the main door and was left speechless by the sight before me. The great hall was filled with portraits. The brushstrokes in the portrait were wild and crude, as rough as a beginner's hasty sketch, yet the person depicted seemed to come alive, infused with a palpable, fervent love. That was Sue Anran, the most beautiful girl in our high school. For 10 years, I had never once heard Chinchilla utter her name. I had no idea he had kept his feelings for her so deeply hidden. I stumbled forward a few steps and braced myself against the table. Several pieces of amber were neatly arranged on the table. Encased within them were, respectively, a piece of fruit candy, a dried flower, and a fragment of a glittering manicured nail. The amber was smooth and polished, clearly worn from being held and turned over in the hand countless times. What Sue Anran had once tossed aside without a thought, he now cherished like a treasure. Yet the wedding ring I had personally chosen for him lay discarded in a dried-up paint palette beside it. My heart clenched with a sharp, rhythmic ache, and tears welled up in my eyes unbidden. After sitting down, I opened the notebook on the desk with a sense of self-inflicted torment. It chronicled Chinchilla's decade-long secret crush on his first day at the new school. The most popular girl in class, sitting in front of him, gave him a piece of fruit candy and a friendly smile. It was like a ray of sunlight piercing the darkness within him. It was the first pure, unadulterated kindness the gloomy boy, who had suffered domestic violence and bullying, had ever received. From that moment on, he was lost to her. He wanted to lock her away, to possess her, to have her smile only for him, yet he couldn't bear to drag someone so radiant into his own darkness. It's not Ron, it's Ron. It was his wedding gift to her. I flipped through it from start to finish, and there were only a few brief mentions of me. My new deskmate is way too nosy, so annoying. I got married, I have some regrets, but I have to take responsibility for her. The breakfasts I brought him when I worried about his low blood sugar, the school bullies I chased off for him, the way I took his hand and led him out of the fire his deranged father started. All those years of my companionship and comfort, he never mentions any of it. The only thing that still haunts his memory is Sue Anran's radiant smile from back then. Every word he spoke felt like a slow, agonizing death in my heart. I clenched my fists and took a deep, steadying breath. The air still seemed to carry the faint, crisp scent of pine that clung to him. A wave of nausea washed over me. Some people are just beyond saving, unworthy of redemption or love. I pressed my palm against my lower abdomen. He doesn't deserve for me to bear his child. I was about to get up when a sudden noise came from the doorway. Two figures pushed the door open and entered. Three. It was Xinqingqia's childhood friend Qingyi and Sue Anran. Qingyi's eyes were rimmed red, his voice hoarse. This villa was left to you by Qingqia. You were once his only light, back when his depression was nearly unbearable. It was looking at your picture that gave him the strength to carry on. Sue Anran stood there in a daze, her eyes misting over. After he got the guaranteed admission, he didn't have to attend classes anymore. He only went every day, just to catch another glimpse of you. It was only then that Qingyi noticed me behind the bookcase. He froze. Then, with a look of disgust, he frowned and said, "What are you doing here?" He strode forward and shoved me aside roughly. "Get out of here, don't you dare sully the one clean, peaceful place we have left." If you hadn't clung to him like a leech, he never would have ended up in this state. Staggering from his shove, a dull ache began to throb in my lower abdomen. I steadied myself and slapped him across the face. What does that have to do with me? I never forced him to date me or marry me. If he missed his chance with Sue Anran, that's on him for being a cowardly jerk. Sue Anran's voice, thick with emotion, suddenly rang out. He didn't get the love letter I sent. Qingyi and I were both stunned. What did you say? Before the college entrance exam, I left a love letter on his desk, but I never got a response. At this, she let out a bitter laugh. When she looked up again, a trace of resentment had crept into her eyes. It was you, wasn't it? She said, her eyes fixed intently on me. You were jealous of me, so you threw away the love letter. You're the reason we missed out on 10 whole years. And now we're separated by life and death. I had no idea about this, but Qingyi believed it. You vicious woman. He lunged at me, teeth gritted, and my stomach slammed hard into the corner of the table. A sharp pain shot through me, and blood began to seep out. My vision went black, and I collapsed to the floor. For when I opened my eyes again, I was standing in front of the storage room door, holding my books and wearing my school uniform. In the storage room, the boy Xinqingqia leaned against the wall, strands of black hair falling across his forehead. His gaze held a trace of confusion as he looked at me. The school's top troublemaker, Xiaoyan, sat lazily across from him, looking utterly at ease. Seeing me, he raised an eyebrow, a careless smile curling at the corner of his lips. Top student, worried about him. I just wanted to have a little chat with him. The feel of the book in my hands was too real to be a dream. My hands and feet went cold in an instant, a surge of hatred welling up inside me. The book thudded to the floor. I closed the door for him with an impassive face. Then I turned and walked away, but from behind me came the sound of the door being flung open. Xinqingqia rushed past me like a gust of wind, leaving only a hurried figure in his wake. What are you running for? I was just asking him why he didn't sign up for any events, Xiaoyan muttered as he picked up the book I'd dropped and handed it to me. You're welcome. A bad feeling washed over me, and I hurried my pace to catch up. At the classroom door, Xinqingqia stood frozen, staring blankly into the classroom where Sue Anran was playfully roughhousing with her deskmate. The slanting rays of the setting sun cast a soft, golden halo around his silhouette. His gaze was tender yet disbelieving, as if he were lost in a beautiful dream from which he dared not wake. My heart sank slowly. His demeanor and bearing were not those of the brooding youth he once was, but rather resembled a refined professor 10 years his senior. Xinqingqia had also been reborn. What's gotten into you? Xiaoyan asked, baffled, as he clapped him on the shoulder and squeezed past him into the classroom. Class is about to start. Don't block the way. 5. I found my seat from memory. This period was for self-study. The students around me were studying quietly. I casually opened an exercise book and stared blankly at the neat, childish handwriting on the page. Given a second chance at life, I absolutely cannot walk down the same old path again. My mind gradually cleared, and my mood settled down. Bit by bit, since Xinqingqia has been reborn, he probably doesn't want anything to do with me either. In this life, we'll stay out of each other's way. If he wants to court death, that's his business. I need to keep my distance, so I don't get splattered when he finally goes down. That's disgusting. Just as I was thinking, Xinqing's cold voice suddenly cut in. Byran, give me your English notes. I looked up. What? He glanced at me sideways with a distant look, seemingly unaware that my behavior was different from my past life of course. His heart and eyes were full of Su Anran, having long forgotten all I had once done for him. Hearing this, Su Anran turned around and apologized. Sorry, I just asked Qingqie for her notes, but she said your English is better, so I came to borrow from you. Her eyes crinkled into a smile, making one feel an instinctive fondness for her. Too bad, that trick doesn't work on me. No, I need it myself. It's not that I need it, I just don't want to lend it to you. Su Anran's smile froze. Her deskmate, Qingyi, couldn't take it anymore and snapped at me. Ran, as the class monitor, helping your classmates is the bare minimum. Why are you acting like lending out your notes is the end of the world? Hand them over. Amran asking to borrow them is doing you a favor, so stop being so stingy. He spoke a bit too loudly, drawing the attention of the surrounding classmates. Su Anran looked dejected, yet her gaze toward me held a hint of contempt. Wei Qing, standing nearby, rolled her eyes, swallowed the spicy strip in her mouth, and started lashing out. Stop with the emotional blackmail. Why should we hand over the notes Ran worked so hard on to ungrateful people like you? What, you think having lousy grades gives you the right to be smug? Seeing that the two of them were about to start a full-blown argument, Shen Qingqie quickly cut in. Enough. Then he turned to look at me, his voice softening, speaking with a frank and earnest tone. Ran, Amran's English is her weak spot. Only by improving her English scores can she apply to schools in City A. I stared at him fixedly, feeling a pang of sadness. He didn't finish his sentence, but I knew in his previous life, Shen Qingqie attended university in City A, and he hoped to study in the same city as Su Anran. In just over 10 minutes, he had already mapped out their future. I was never treated with that level of seriousness by him. In the first month of our marriage, he left to teach in a distant city. He'd only come home every few months and never once called me on his own, so it wasn't that he couldn't, he just didn't love me enough. I lowered my gaze, feeling the profound worthlessness of my 10 years, yet Shen Qingqie mistook my silence for hesitation. Didn't you always want me to come over for dinner? As if struck by a sudden thought, understanding filled his beautiful, peach blossom eyes. Help Amran improve her English grades, and I'll come to your place for a meal once a month. His tone was laced with a condescending air of granting a favor. How is it that after being reborn, he can't even speak properly? I finally couldn't take it anymore and looked up to meet his gaze. Am I some kind of doormat? Why do I have to suffer through everything? Shen Qingqie's expression went blank for a moment. Just as he was about to say something, the homeroom teacher suddenly pushed the classroom door open and walked in. 6. Holding his thermos, he announced that registration for Tsinghua University's direct admission exam was now open. In his past life, it was this very exam that secured Shen Qingqie's direct admission to Tsinghua, but I didn't join in. Shen Qingqie and I raised our hands at the same time. He looked at me with a hint of surprise, as if he couldn't understand why I had made a different choice from my past life. Ran, are you signing up too? Su Anran asked, puzzled. Her voice was soft, almost mocking my overestimation of myself. The most important thing for a person is to know their own limits. With enough effort, your grades could get you into a decent university, but compared to Qingqie, you're still far behind. Participating would just be a waste of your time, or perhaps, you're just trying to get someone's attention. She glanced at Shen Qingqie, who was listening intently, and the implication of her words was crystal clear. How can she be so sure I'm not up to it? In my past life, I didn't participate because I didn't want to compete with Shen Qingqie for the spot. His family was struggling financially. If he could get the guaranteed admission, he'd have more time to work and save up for his college expenses. Who would have thought that after getting in, he'd come to school every day just to waste time, all for another glimpse of Su Anran? At that thought, I spoke up coolly. What's it to you? Is this something the class dead last should even be worrying about? Su Anran's eyes instantly welled up with tears, seeing the person he cared for being bullied. Shen Qingqie, who had remained silent until now, suddenly spoke up, apologized to Anran. Now, she was only trying to help you out of kindness. Don't be so ungrateful, and if you wanted to get my attention, you didn't need to resort to such a pathetic method. His tone was icy, treating your future like a joke. Ran, don't be so naive. What a lunatic. I couldn't be bothered with him and raised my hand to signal the homeroom teacher, who was just watching the show. Teacher, I need to change seats. There's a dog barking nearby, and it's disrupting my studies. Shen Qingqie's face darkened as he stared at me coldly. The homeroom teacher was a bit puzzled, but agreed nonetheless. After class, I moved to sit next to Shan Yan. He permanently claimed the back row for napping, and no one dared to disturb him over there. It was perfectly quiet, just how I liked it. As I packed my things, I caught a glimpse of Su Anran leaning back slightly, Her jet black hair spilling onto Shinqingqia's desk, the boy gazed down. Quietly, after a long moment, his fingers stirred, gently picking up a strand of her hair with restrained reverence. I rolled my eyes. On our very first night as a married couple, he went and slept in the guest room because a strand of my hair fell on his pillow, and he found it disgusting. I'm the disgusting one. Does he really think his white moonlight is some kind of pure, saintly girl? 7. Without Shinqingqia around, my day was surprisingly peaceful and pleasant. After school, the homeroom teacher kept me behind to help him grade some papers for a while. It was almost dark by the time I got back to the neighborhood. A few women walking their dogs were chatting as they strolled along ahead. Did you hear? That lunatic from Building 3 just got hauled off to the psych ward. His son called the police because he beat him so badly. I went to have a look. It's just awful. That boy seems so well behaved. How could anyone bring themselves to hit him like that? I stopped in my tracks. Our apartment is in Building 3, and that madman was none other than Shinqingqia's father in a past life. He would often fly into a rage and beat Shinqingqia, leaving him covered in wounds. I've always kept a small first aid kit under my desk, just in case he got hurt. It's not like I never offered to call the police for him, but he told me to mind my own business. It seems in this life, he's chosen not to hold back anymore. I hadn't gone far when I saw Shinqingqia curled up on a bench, crimson. Blood seeped from his forehead, making his face appear unnaturally pale and sickly. The flickering lights around us cast shifting shadows as a cold wind tousled his disheveled hair. My eyes met his, and I was caught off guard by the lost, helpless look in them. I averted my gaze and, with an expressionless face, made to turn and leave. Ran, he called out, stopping me. Then, as if suddenly realizing something, their expression cooled back to its usual aloofness. What are you doing here? What's wrong with this guy? I found the whole thing distasteful and quickly picked up my pace. He suddenly let out a derisive snort. A low, husky voice came from behind. Don't think I don't know you're here to play the savior. You love nothing more than to condescendingly offer a hand when someone's at their lowest. You think that'll make me like you. Quite the opposite. I despise this hypocritical act of yours the most. 8. I was stunned. The moment I realized what he had said, I was trembling with rage. Is that really how he sees me? In his eyes, all my affection and care for him were nothing but condescending charity and hypocrisy. I spent the last 10 years loving a fool who can't tell right from wrong. You're wrong. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to stay calm. I'm not here to play the savior. Then I strode forward and slapped him hard across the face with a full swing of my right arm. I'm here to kick you while you're down. You ungrateful wretch. After the slap, I shot him a final, searing glare before turning on my heel and walking away. Shinqing was left standing there, utterly dumbfounded. Ever since I slapped that ungrateful wretch last time, I felt so much better, like a weight has been lifted. At school, we had an unspoken agreement to act like strangers. I would occasionally hear news about him and Su Anren. He hand-copied hundreds of pages of notes for Su Anren. He got into a fight with some local troublemakers. For Su Anren's sake, he cycled over 10 kilometers just to buy freshly baked pastries for Su Anren. Back in the day, he'd complain I was being a bother if I just asked him to pour me a glass of water. Well, true love really is something else, isn't it? Hearing this, my heart remained utterly still. I even felt like calling him an idiot. I once loved Shinqingqia, not just for his breathtakingly handsome looks. It was also because I admire strength and excellence. I was drawn to his persona, brilliant and clear-headed, yet aloof and vulnerable, the classic beautiful, strong, but tragic archetype. But looking back now, if I had walked his path, I wouldn't have been any worse than him. Then why admire anyone else's strength? I am the strong one. After leaving Shinqingqia, my life gradually got back on track. Wei Qing, finding the atmosphere around Shinqingqia too toxic, also moved to the back row and started pestering me for help with problems every day. After seeing the study materials, I prepared for the Tsinghua University early admission exam. Xiaoyan, for some inexplicable reason, caught the bug and stopped sleeping to study with Wei Qing and me. He actually managed to improve his score by over 100 points in the monthly exam. His parents warmly invited Wei Qing and me over for dinner at their home. During the meal, his mother affectionately took my hand, wanting to adopt me as her goddaughter, but Xiaoyan, who was standing nearby, stopped her. With his hands in his pockets and a casual air, he said, "Mom, if you want to make her family, there are other ways." I pretended not to understand and looked down to play with the puppy bouncing around under the dining table. The puppy was so adorable, I couldn't resist giving it a piece of chicken breast. The little rascal got so excited it did 2 backflips for me. Look, even a dog knows gratitude, yet some people do not. 9. With exams approaching, I've kicked my revision plan into high gear. Shen Qingqian gradually faded from my view. Our paths crossed again, right outside the sports equipment room. The gym teacher sent me to fetch the basketballs for class. As I approached the equipment room, I saw a figure standing at the door. Shen Qingqian hung his head, the corners of his eyes tinged red, looking for all the world like a stray dog. The door to the equipment room was slightly ajar, and from within came the clear sound of Su Anren and her friend talking. Anren, you'd actually dare to eat something he gave you. His father's a lunatic. Who knows what kind of germs he might be carrying, her friend said with disgust. Don't say that, it's not about germs. Su Anren's voice drifted out, unhurried. It's genetics. Look at him, always moping around with that gloomy face. He's probably got a bit of that old madman's genes, but it's fine, it's just for fun. Her friend laughed without restraint. Ha 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 ha, but he seems pretty serious about it. Huh, I heard he's working 3 jobs just to support you. That's hilarious. What a pathetic simp. He's just a fool, easy to hook with a little flirting. Su Anren said with a scornful smile. By the way, don't say things like that in front of him. Everyone needs to act properly around him. I'm not done playing with this little mad dog yet. Shen Qingqia's hand, holding the cake, trembled slightly. It doesn't feel good, does it? To see your cherished idol fall from grace with your own eyes seriously serves you right. Hearing Su Anren say all that, I've finally figured it out. Given her personality, she probably never wrote Su Qingqia a love letter in her past life at all. She only said that to slander me and provoke Qingyi. I refused to get caught up in their ridiculous drama this time around. I turned to leave, but Shen Qingqia grabbed my wrist in a death grip. Let go of me. I couldn't break free, and he dragged me outside. He pinned me against the corner in a frenzy. Those once calm eyes were now brimming with hatred. Was it you who spread the news about my father? Byran, are you satisfied now? Do you really like me that much, enough to ruin my relationship with her? Furious, I lashed out and kicked him away. After spending 10 years together day in and day out, even without love, there should at least be some basic trust, but thankfully, I'd long since stopped holding out any hope for him. I stared at him coldly. Shen Qingqia, are you having a paranoid delusion? Didn't you tell us about your father yourself on your very first day at this school? Like you. How can you be so shameless? Su Anren was right. You really are an idiot. 10. Unexpectedly, Shen Qingqia offered no rebuttal. As if some deeply held conviction was crumbling bit by bit, he slid down the wall, utterly spent, and finally slumped to the floor. Looking down at him from my superior position, I felt an inexplicable surge of satisfaction. I understand all too well the feeling of watching the one you love rot away before your very eyes. After all, I felt exactly the same when I first pushed open the villa's grand door. How the tables have turned. Disheveled strands of hair danced before his eyes. Shen Qingqia hung his head, his gaze distant and his expression numb. He leaned motionless against the wall, like a shattered piece of fine jade. Lonely and desolate, I took my time savoring the look of utter despair on his face. I wished I could capture it on camera, to pull out and have a good laugh at whenever I was feeling down. Suddenly, the person before me let out a soft, bitter chuckle. The laughter continued, until tears began to stream from their eyes. What? Has he truly lost his mind? I heard him whisper, his voice nearly gone. It was my fault, I shouldn't have. In that instant, it suddenly dawned on me. Shen Qingqia is a clever man. He must have noticed Su Anren's unusual behavior during this time. It's just that in his past life, over those 10 years, he had poured far too much intense emotion into that illusory fantasy. So, he had been deceiving himself all along. Now, that illusion has been shattered in the cruelest way. He couldn't believe it, refusing to accept that he had thrown his life away for someone like that, and so, he shifted the blame onto an innocent me. I looked at Shen Qingqia, whose eyes were rimmed with red, and let out a cold laugh. In this life or the last, he's still the same old coward. I didn't want to see him wallow in regret and lose his mind again, so I turned and left without a second thought, leaving him alone behind me, laughing and crying to himself. 11. I'm not as foolish as Shen Qingqia. Given a second chance at life, I won't waste my time on people who aren't worth it and end up a miserable wreck. I've long since persuaded my parents to invest in some promising emerging industries. I also helped Wei Qing bring her grades up significantly. Failing to get into her dream school was one of Wei Qing's greatest regrets in her past life. This time, she would get her wish. Everything was moving in a positive direction. After that day, it was said that Shen Qingqia and Su Anren had a rather unpleasant falling out, but that's none of my business. The only thing that concerns me is that he's stopped orbiting Su Anren and has buried his head in his books instead. Damn, now he's trying to outdo me too. After all, he took this exam in a past life, so he probably remembers some of the questions. The only way I could beat him was by working harder than he did. Both Wei Qing and Shan Yan noticed something was off with me, yet, by some unspoken agreement, neither of them disturbed me on the day. The exams ended. I walked out of the examination hall. The sunlight fell upon the road with a gentle, even warmth, like a contented kitten after a midday meal. Quiet and lovely, the exam went smoothly, and I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Shan Yan was waiting for me at the entrance with Wei Qing, holding 3 cups of bubble tea. He waved to me, his tousled hair smoothed by the oncoming breeze, radiating a natural, youthful spirit. I quickened my pace to meet him. He looked down and handed me the milk tea. The usual casualness was gone from his handsome features, replaced by a focused tenderness. "Come on," he said, "I'm treating you all to dinner." After the meal, I spent the whole afternoon having a blast with them at the amusement park. It had been so long since I'd felt this happy. Ever since my rebirth, my mind has been wound tight. Today, I finally felt a long-lost sense of relaxation. It was as if all my worries had vanished. A strange sensation seeped from my pores into my blood, awakening my lifeless cells. It feels like I've come back to life. 12 in the days that followed, I ended up being the one with the most free time every day. I was sent to buy meals for Wei Qing and Shan Yan. Early this morning, Wei Qing started clamoring for the beef noodles from the south gate of the school, so, during the lunch break, I dutifully went on the errand for her. The moment I stepped out of the school gate, I brushed past a familiar-looking guy with bleached hair. I overheard him saying, "Don't worry, babe, we've already taken good care of that punk who messed with you." He swaggered onto a minivan, followed by a handful of his lackeys. It finally clicked. That guy with the dyed hair was Su Anren's ex-boyfriend, a local troublemaker. He used to pick her up from school. I turned into the alley without thinking, only to find Xinqingqia by the dumpster, his head covered in blood. Oh, so he was the one who got taken care of. Serves him right. The blondes really came through, but I'm starting to wonder if I'm really his bad luck charm. Otherwise, why is it that every time he's in a sorry state, I always show up right on time to mock him? I looked at Xinqingqia lying on the ground and lifted my leg, ready to step over him, but he reached out and grabbed my ankle in a death grip. Still alive? What a shame. His eyes were glazed, as if he couldn't distinguish dream from reality. Ran, you've come to save me again. Let go. His fingers were cold and clammy, and I felt a twinge of disgust, but he held on tight, and I couldn't break free, so I bent down and pried his fingers open. One by one, his eyelashes fluttered slightly as he stared at me, his gaze filled with a sickening nostalgia. Ran, have you had enough of playing hard to get? I'm giving you a chance to save me. In the past, I was a poor judge of character. Only now do I realize that you're the only one who's ever been sincere with me. Stop this. Okay, let's make up. I froze. So he hasn't realized I've been reborn too. I never made any particular effort to hide it. He just arrogantly assumed I'm still the same Ran from before, the one who would stay faithfully by his side for 10 years. He thinks all my odd behavior is just a game of hard to get, a ploy to get his attention. How utterly confident. My patience ran out. Without a second thought, I stood up and stomped on the hand that was gripping my ankle. He cried out in pain, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. If you won't speak like a human, don't expect me to act like one. I slowly ground my thumb against his knuckles, my voice flat as I spoke. Xinqingqia, given a second chance at life, how have you not learned a single thing? His pupils contracted sharply, his face growing even paler. Ran, wait, you too. I couldn't be bothered to hear the rest. I let go and turned to leave. 13 That evening, as usual, I helped the homeroom teacher grade homework. It started to rain just as I was heading home. The rain fell in a fine, dense mist. A damp, briny smell hung in the air, unsettling me. I was about to enter the building when I suddenly spotted a figure standing by my window. I live on the ground floor. The person wasn't holding an umbrella, just standing there motionless, staring fixedly towards my apartment. Summoning my courage, I moved closer for a look. It was Xinqingqia. Damn it. Through the curtain of rain, I saw a profound, ineffable sorrow deep in his eyes. Seeing me return, he instinctively moved to approach, but was wounded by my look of disgust, freezing him in place. Ran, I'm sorry. The rain pelted down on him, drop by heavy drop, as if trying to break his proud spirit. After all this time, I finally got an apology, but I don't care anymore. I tightened my grip on the umbrella handle. Noted, now get lost. He didn't move, standing quietly in place, his eyes rimmed red. Standing on the rooftop, I was utterly despondent, believing I had lost my true love forever. But the moment I jumped, my mind was filled only with you. You were still at home, waiting for me to have dinner. Su Anren was merely an obsession from my youth. Ran, the one I truly love is you. I let out a cold, mocking laugh. You love me, yet the first thing you did after being reborn was run to Sue Anran. You bought cake for Sue Anran countless times, but you couldn't even be bothered to boil a simple bowl of noodles for me on my birthday. You call this love? I said it calmly. Yet Xinqingqia's face grew increasingly pale. How pathetic can you be? Perhaps one can spend a lifetime trapped by the things they longed for but could not have in their youth, but none of that justifies how he hurt me. Xinqingqia closed his eyes in despair, his voice catching in his throat. Ran, I know you hate me, but we've been together for 10 years, give me one more chance, let's start over, please. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, but the long-suppressed anger and resentment from my past life surged up all at once. Why should I give you another chance? Do you even deserve it? I glared at him with pure venom. My biggest regret is wasting 10 years of my youth on you. When you covered the walls with paintings of her, did you ever stop to think about how I felt? When you wrote a will to donate all your money, when you jumped off a building for your one that got away, did you ever once think about what would happen to me and our child? Xinqingqia's head had been sinking lower and lower, but at the last sentence, his gaze snapped up to meet mine. A child, we have a child, a boy or a girl. How old? He took a flustered step forward, the corners of his eyes and brows alight with the astonishment of a first-time father. A moment later, he seemed to realize something, and the smile froze on his lips. I don't know, I said flatly, my words unnervingly cruel. I was only 1 month pregnant when your beloved and your best friend got me killed. Truthfully, I didn't even know if I was really dead. I just said it to wound him. Xinqia finally couldn't hold on any longer. He sank into a crouch, hands covering his face, a choked sob escaping his throat. I walked past him and into the house, watching Xinqingqia weeping uncontrollably outside the window. I felt nothing but grim satisfaction. Good, I shouldn't be the only one suffering. 14. Xinqingqia has taken a leave of absence from school. I got the direct admission offer. What a double celebration. After receiving the news of her guaranteed admission, Wei Qing wanted to find Xinqingqia to show off. But unfortunately, she couldn't find him anywhere. With all her pent-up energy and nowhere else to channel it, she poured everything into her studies, and her grades shot up like a rocket. 100 days of hard work turned her dream school into a safety net. After getting the early admission, I hardly ever went to school. I only occasionally dropped off some study materials for Wei Qing and Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan said he wanted to get into T University with me, so we could have a proper campus romance, but getting into T University is no walk in the park. Even so, I was genuinely moved to see someone working so hard to catch up to me, so I promptly gifted him the complete set of 5-year, 3 simulation exam prep books. Xiaoyan ground his teeth. By ran, without even looking up, I tossed out 10 more sets of practice exams. What's up? A couple more. This isn't nearly enough. 15. I didn't hear about Xinqingqia again until several months later. He stabbed both Su Anran and Qingyi 8 times each, with none of the wounds proving fatal. Both victims were admitted to the ICU and remain unconscious to this day. The police searched for him for 3 days, but he was nowhere to be found, neither alive nor dead. All his classmates and teachers were horrified by his brutality. Only I knew the madness that truly lay within him. The police questioned his teachers and classmates. I was among them. After returning home from the police station, I took out my keys to unlock the door. Suddenly, a towel reeking of a pungent chemical smell was pressed over my mouth and nose. I blacked out instantly. When I came to, I found myself on the roof of a derelict building, my hands tightly bound to a chair. Xinqingqia, dressed in a sharp suit, stood with his back to me at the edge of the roof, lost in thought. A cold wind blew, whipping up the dead leaves and grit from the ground. A wave of despair washed over me. Sensing movement behind him, Xinqingqia turned around and calmly lit the candle on the table. Only then did I notice the table was laden with all my favorite dishes. Xinqingqia sat beside me, his delicate face half cast in the crimson glow of candlelight, half swallowed by shadow. What game is he playing at? What do you want? I met his gaze coldly. A gentle smile played at the corner of his lips, his calm eyes holding a trace of imperceptible madness. Ran, have you forgotten? I still owe you a wedding anniversary. What a load of crap. This is insane. I stared at him intently. Let me go home, you can't hide with me for long. He acted as if he hadn't heard me, ladling a bowl of soup for me instead. It's our first anniversary. I made your favorite pork rib soup. Try some. I couldn't listen any longer and cut him off impatiently. Xinqingqia, have you lost your memory? Do you need me to refresh it for you? His hand froze in midair. On our first anniversary, you borrowed a camera to pour your heart out to Su Anran. You abandoned your wife and child, leapt from the 18th floor for her, all while dreaming of reuniting with her among the stars and seas. Does that ring a bell? My voice dripped with sarcasm, and Shinqingqia's eyes instantly welled up. He reached out and pulled me into his embrace, pressing his cheek against the side of my neck, coaxing me in a half-pleading tone, "Let's just have a good day today, okay? No more of this talk. After all these years together, he knows exactly how to calm me down in the past, eh?" Little bit of his sweet talking was all it took for me to relent and give in, but now, it just makes me sick. I kicked the dining table, the wine bottle toppled over on the table, spilling dark red liquid all over him in a rush. He paid it no mind and showed no anger. He simply raised his hand to gently stroke my cheek, his gaze heavy upon me as if to etch this moment into his heart forever. "Time is running out, Ran," he said, a faint smile playing on his lips, his dark pupils as serene as the night. "What time is it?" I felt uneasy and instinctively moved away from him. "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you again," he said, his tone bitter as he noticed my movement. I didn't believe a word of it. A police siren suddenly wailed in the distance. I instantly felt a wave of relief. During questioning at the police station, I volunteered to have a tracking device placed on me. Going home alone was also a ploy to draw out Shinqingqia. He leaned down and gently kissed my forehead, as if it were a final farewell. I heard him sigh softly. Ran, how did we end up like this? He brought this on himself. If he hadn't been pining for Su Anran, if he had taken responsibility from the very beginning, perhaps we would be a happy family of 3 now. What a shame. There are no what ifs, thank goodness. There are no what ifs. A blinding white light suddenly swept across the rooftop, and I squinted. The next second, several red dots converged on Shinqingqia's body. He stood up, gazing at me with reluctance as he took step after step backward. I looked up and met his gaze. There was not a trace of surprise in his eyes. His expression even held a hint of relief. In that instant, my blood ran cold. It suddenly dawned on me. He knew it was a trap I had set. What's more, he had no intention of running. When he retreated to the edge of the building, Shinqingqia came to a halt. He gave me a reassuring smile, serene, yet utterly desolate. Ran, I will atone for you with my own life. How dare you? My eyes nearly burst from their sockets. Shinqingqia, stop right there. How dare he get off so easily? I won't let him find peace that way. He hurt me, he hurt others. He should spend the rest of his life in prison, repenting. Ran, I love you. The cool wind from the rooftop carried his whisper and tousled his hair. He leaned back in a daze. It felt as if I had been transported back to that summer afternoon. The air was thick and muggy. The walls of the classroom building were old and peeling. Under the creaking fan, the boy tilted his head to look at me, the tips of his ears slightly flushed, his voice clear and gentle. "By Ran, do you, like me, 16, after the college entrance exams, we all went our separate ways. Wei Qing did well and got into University in the neighboring city. We'd occasionally get together for a small reunion during the long holidays. As for Shan Yan, he fell short of University's admission score by several dozen points. He could have gotten into a decent university, but he chose to repeat his final year of high school instead. I mailed him the complete new edition of the 5-3 review books. He was so mad he didn't reply to my messages for 3 days. Qing Yi and Su Anran's injuries were too severe. They fell into a vegetative state with no telling when they might wake up. Naturally, they didn't take the college entrance exam. College life is both busy and fulfilling. I tried a lot of new things I never experienced in my past life. Compared to my past life, I'm not necessarily any better. But I am truly happy. After all, happiness is the rarest and most wondrous ability of all. Even though my past life was difficult and painful, it doesn't stop me from falling in love with this world all over again. The start of the second school year as the department head, I went to greet the new students. A few junior students mustered the courage to come and ask for my WeChat, and I politely declined each one with a smile. A familiar voice chimed in, "None of you are getting anywhere, watch this." I looked up, bathed in sunlight. The boy leaned lazily on his suitcase, his gaze finding mine across the crowd. "Hey, senior, wanna go out? My dog can do backflips." The end. Story 2. Hello. After verification, we have determined that your marital union with Mr. Qin Yangshu is invalid. The marriage certificate you provided is not genuine. I nodded calmly and took the marriage certificate back from the staff member. Meeting their sympathetic gaze, after returning home, I stared blankly at that marriage certificate. Even though I had braced myself for this, I still felt a pang of sadness. 5 years of marriage felt like a mirage, and only now has it shown me its true face. I let out a bitter laugh and picked up my phone. Maybe the marriage certificate being fake would actually save me some time. Secretary Chen, regarding our agreement for me to report in 30 days, I can move that up. I can come over in 7 days. Once my immigration paperwork is complete. The person on the other end of the line was clearly taken aback. Don't you need to deal with the marriage arrangement with President Qin anymore, I replied calmly. It's been taken care of. My eyes seemed to glisten with unshed tears. The person on the other end of the line didn't press further, and instead confirmed the time with me once again. Everything's settled. I booked a flight for 7 days from now. In another week, I'll be leaving overseas with the Su family, and I won't be coming back. Speaking of which, I have to thank Qin Yangshu's childhood friend for letting me know the marriage certificate was fake. If it weren't for that recording she posted on her social media, visible only to me, I would never have known that my 5-year marriage to Qin Yangshu was a sham from the very beginning. To this day, I can still vividly recall the teasing tone in her voice on that recording. Qin Yangshu, you should be thanking me. If it weren't for that bet we made 5 years ago, you'd be trapped in a loveless marriage by now. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone around burst into laughter. Exactly. I'm afraid Su Panxia will be kicked out without ever realizing the marriage certificate she got with Brother Qin was fake. It was just a game of rock paper scissors, and Brother Qin actually went along with it. It just goes to show his true feelings are for Yuling. A moment later, a deep male voice sounded. Even without that marriage certificate, Su Panxia is my wife. I lost the bet fair and square. 5 years ago, Lin Yuling chose to go abroad. What happened between her and me is in the past. I couldn't bear to listen any longer. In a state of utter collapse, I flung my phone to the floor. Throughout our 5 years of marriage, I had truly believed I was profoundly happy. Qin Yangshu would cook meals for me and always remembered my special days. For every anniversary and birthday, he would prepare gifts he knew I'd love. The flowers he's given me over the past 5 years could have stocked 3 florist shops. Even though it started as an arranged marriage, I gradually fell for him. It's not like I didn't know Qin Yangshu had a childhood sweetheart. I'd even heard all about their epic love story, but on the very day of our wedding, she went abroad. I had thought that the matter between Qin Yangshu and her was long over. Little did I know, Qin Yangshu never really minded her leaving the country and had always held feelings for her in his heart. A simple game of rock paper scissors could actually become the wager that decided the fate of my marriage to him. The recording on the phone kept playing. Qin Yangshu's brother couldn't help but ask, if Su Panxia finds out, she's bound to make a huge scene. A moment later, Qin Yangshu's confident voice chimed in, even if she finds out, she can't leave me. Hearing this, I gave a wry smile and picked up the marriage certificate. A dense, prickling pain began to spread through my chest. The Qin Yangshu I love is the one who, even after 5 years of marriage, is still madly in love with me. Not this liar who has been deceiving me from the very beginning. Just then, a voice tinged with nervousness suddenly came from behind me. Panxia, what are you doing with the marriage certificate? I turned and saw Qin Yangshu, a trace of panic on his face. He was dressed in a suit, clearly having just returned from the office. His features were handsome, but his tightly furrowed brow betrayed his emotions. Qin Yangshu took 2 steps toward me, and the scent of lilies from him washed over me. I couldn't help but sneeze, and Qin Yangshu's expression instantly turned tense. Panxia, are you alright? Is it the floral scent on me? Sorry, I just passed by a flower shop and wanted to buy you a bouquet. I must have picked up the smell. He quickly took off his suit jacket, carefully assessing my condition. I subtly avoided Qin Yangshu's outstretched hand and shook my head to indicate I was fine. Only then did Qin Yangshu let out a sigh of relief. He glanced at the marriage certificate nearby and was about to ask me more. Before I could speak, Qin Yangshu's phone rang abruptly. He furrowed his brow tightly, yet his hand betrayed him by picking up the call. Yangshu, what's going on? I asked you to buy a bouquet of flowers, so why have you disappeared? Everyone's waiting for you. The sound of Lin Yuling's arrogant laughter came through the phone. I was stunned for a moment. So, what Qin Yangshu had just told me was also a lie. It suddenly occurred to me that Qin Yangshu's daily habit of bringing me a bouquet of flowers had long since disappeared. Ever since Lin Yuling returned to the country, he probably also forgot that I'm allergic to lilies. Qin Yangshu instinctively glanced at my expression before replying, Lin Yuling, I'm married now. You all go ahead and have fun. Lin Yuling fell silent for a moment before replying casually, you said you wanted to marry me before. What's the big deal about getting married now? Are you that henpecked? Don't forget, you and Su Panxia never actually. Enough. Qin Yangshu cut her off, his voice boiling with rage. That's all in the past. You were the one who chose to go abroad back then. On the other end of the line, Lin Yuling let out a choked sob, as if startled. Then, in a fit of pique, she yelled, fine, don't bother with me then. If you're not coming tonight, I'll just go find myself another man. Don't you dare regret it. With that, she slammed the phone down. Qin Yangshu's face instantly darkened. A moment later, He forced a smile and looked at me. Panxia, you must be hungry, right? Don't mind them, she's just being a bit mischievous. When he mentioned Lin Yurong, a hint of adoration flickered unconsciously in his eyes. Perhaps Qin Yangshu didn't notice it, but I, standing to the side, saw it all too clearly. Before I could answer, Qin Yangshu, as if trying to hide something, turned and made a move toward the kitchen. His phone kept ringing one after another. Finally, as if conceding defeat, he grimly unlocked it again by the kitchen door. I vaguely saw that Qin Yangshu's friend, Zhou Huan, had sent him over a dozen videos, each one filled with images of Lin Yuling. She downed a glass of wine in one gulp, then turned and walked toward the man behind her. Zhou Huan's voice came from the video. Qin, you're really not coming. Yuling's gone wild tonight. I'm worried she might actually leave with someone. Qin Yangshu's hand clenched around his phone. In our 5 years of marriage, this was the first time I'd ever seen him lose his composure like this. No matter what happened to me before, even when I was running a fever of 40 degrees, he always remained perfectly calm and collected. I used to think that was just his personality, but now I see it's simply because the one he loves isn't me. As if he'd made up his mind about something, he tapped the keyboard twice, the address, then, turning to me with a face full of apology, he said, Panxia, Yuling is still young, we grew up together. After all, I can't let anything happen to her. I'll cook for you when I get back, okay? Before I could answer, he put that suit jacket back on. Watching Qin Yangshu's figure, so eager to leave, I spoke calmly. Qin Yangshu, are you keeping something from me? If you tell me now, the promise we made when we married still stands. I had already told Qin Yangshu this 5 years ago, when our marriage was arranged. If he finds someone he truly loves, he can just tell me, we can part ways amicably. Qin Yangshu's body stiffened for a moment, seeing the earnest look on my face. A sudden wave of panic rose in his heart. Then, forcing that panic down, he managed a smile and said, Panxia, what are you talking about? Why would I keep anything from you? I know you feel insecure. I'll come back to be with you as soon as I finish up here. Seeing the way his eyes instinctively avoided mine, I gave a slow nod, as if granted some long-awaited permission. He turned and strode away. Watching his figure recede into the distance, memories from the past 5 years flooded my mind unbidden. It's precisely because of his constant care and consideration over these 5 years that I can't believe our marriage was all a lie. Up until just now, I was still clinging to a sliver of hope, but now it's clear that it was all a lie. Qin Yangshu never forgot Lin Yuling. Maybe he did have feelings for me at some point, but I will always be a step below Lin Yuling. With that thought, I sent a message to Qin Yangshu. The cooperation between the Su group and the Qin group has expired. I've already spoken with the Su side. If you have any matters, you can contact Secretary Chen directly. The message remained marked as unread. It wasn't until the next morning that a message from Qin Yangshu woke me up. I'm sorry, Panxia, I just saw this now. Regarding the Su family matter, I trust you completely. I didn't come home last night because something came up with Yuling. I'll be back soon, and I'll bring you your favorite shrimp dumplings. I gave Qin Yangshu's message a cursory glance and turned off my phone screen. I had known all along that Qin Yangshu wouldn't be coming home last night. Ever since he went to Lin Yuling's place, my phone has been flooded with her social media updates. Qin Yangshu, jealous over her, got into a fight with the man she was with. Qin Yangshu took her home and carefully prepared a hangover soup for her. Qin Yangshu told her stories to lull her to sleep. All the thoughtfulness he once showed me turned out to be habits cultivated by Lin Yuling. From the day we got married, Qin Yangshu promised me he would never leave me home alone at night. Looking back now, the moment Lin Yuling returned, that promise of his was already broken. I opened my phone, logged into the Su Corporation's official website, and deleted every single post about our loving married life that Qin Yangshu and I had ever shared. Those old posts seem so ironic to me now. After finishing everything, I got up to gather my documents, ready to head out and apply for my immigration papers. Qin Yangshu returned very quickly. I had just taken out my ID card when he appeared at the door. He was looking at me with a beaming smile, but his expression froze for a moment when he saw the ID card in my hand. What's going on? I calmly put my ID card into my bag and answered offhandedly. Something came up. Qin Yangshu looked at my expression and suddenly grabbed my hand tightly. He asked with a slightly strained voice, Panxia, please don't be like this, okay? I know I upset you yesterday. I promise I won't stay out all night anymore. As for Lin Yurong's matter, I'll let them handle it themselves. Please don't be so cold to me. As he spoke, Qin Yangshu, with a hint of urgency, produced a gift box from behind and handed it to me with the utmost care. Look, this is a custom gown I had made for you, from your favorite atelier. I was stunned for a moment before reaching out to open it. The gown was a radiant pearl white from head to toe, Absolutely dazzling, and exactly my style. Why are you having a dress custom made for me all of a sudden? Qin Yangshu's eyes widened slightly. Tomorrow is your birthday. We agreed to go to the auction to bid on jewelry for you. Don't you remember? I was taken aback for a moment. That was the promise I made with Qin Yangshu a week ago. Thinking back on it now, it feels like a lifetime ago. Just a week ago, we were so incredibly happy. I was utterly convinced we would grow old together. It was only 5 days ago that Lin Yuling returned to the country. Qin Yangshu was eventually moved by her repeated invitations and persistent advances. His attitude had initially been one of angry rebukes and harsh scolding. In the end, Lin Yuling managed to touch his heart once more by evoking their shared past. Decades of time is a distance I cannot cross. At this thought, a pang of pain shot through my heart. Qin Yangshu was still waiting for me to show a look of delight. Foreseeing the look on his face, the dress suddenly didn't seem so beautiful anymore. I accepted it calmly, then curled the corner of my mouth and said thank you. Qin Yangshu let out a sigh of relief, thinking the matter was over. He looked at me and gave a gentle smile. Go ahead and try on the gown. At the auction tomorrow, I'll buy you the finest jewelry. You'll be the most beautiful woman there. I nodded and turned to try on the gown. Just then, Qin Yangshu's phone rang again. Even though he was quick, I still caught the name on the screen. Lin Yurong. Qin Yangshu's expression darkened. He held back for a moment, but after the phone rang repeatedly, he finally answered it. He looked at me with some difficulty and said, Panxia, there's something at the company. I need to step out and handle it. With that, as if feeling guilty, Qin Yangshu left without waiting for my reply. It was only then that I realized Qin Yangshu thought I hadn't seen who was calling him. He had just made a promise to me, but the very next moment, under Lin Yurong's pressure, he chose to lie without a second thought. At this thought, a bitter smile touched my lips. The next day, Qin Yangshu merely sent me a message, telling me to get dressed in the formal attire myself and that he would send someone to pick me up. In the end, I never did see the person Qin Yangshu sent. Before I even stepped out of the car at the auction house entrance, I spotted Lin Yurong horsing around with Qin Yangshu. She was wearing a red evening gown, her whole demeanor radiating an almost aggressive flamboyance. I could tell at a glance that the gown was a custom piece from my favorite atelier. In the past, whenever I made an appearance, no one else would ever dare show up in a gown from the same atelier. Qin Yangshu said that as long as I liked it, this studio would serve me and only me, forever. Now, there was one more person for the studio to serve. Qin Yangshu looked at Lin Yuling before him, his eyes filled with adoration. I paused for a moment, then finally stepped out of the car calmly. When Qin Yangshu saw me, the smile at the corner of his mouth faded slightly. Panxia, Yuling said she wanted to come by. Since it's your birthday today, let's bring her along this once. Consider it a way to accumulate some good fortune for you. I gave a casual nod. Qin Yangshu, however, furrowed his brow, not expecting my reaction to be so indifferent. He instinctively reached out to stop me, but Lin Yuling was quicker. With a coquettish laugh, she grabbed Qin Yangshu's arm. It's my first time here, Yangshu. Keep me company, won't you? You wouldn't want me to embarrass you and Sister Panxia, would you? And so, Qin Yangshu's outstretched hand fell back to his side. Seeing this, Lin Yuling shot me a triumphant look. I, however, didn't even glance their way. They walked straight in ahead, yet Qin Yangshu's gaze remained fixed on me behind them, and I simply followed behind them, calm and composed. Soon, murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. Mr. Qin and his wife are so close. I heard he plans to buy the finale piece, the Heart of the Sea, at the auction today as a birthday gift for her. The person beside her immediately looked embarrassed and tugged at her sleeve. That's not Mrs. Qin, the one behind her is. This one is probably Mr. Qin's childhood friend. The moment the words were spoken, the looks everyone gave us shifted. Lin Yurong didn't seem to mind at all. In fact, she shot me a look that was almost triumphant. Qin Yangshu looked at me, as if waiting for me to say something. I simply watched them calmly, as if none of it had anything to do with me. 5. The auction began shortly after, and I casually placed bids on a few items. Lin Yurong had been solely focused on talking to Qin Yangshu beside her, but then, as if she had seen something, her expression suddenly turned provocative. After that, no matter what I bid on, she would raise the price. The people around us saw this and cast pitying glances my way. The esteemed Mrs. Qin can't even compare to the boss's childhood sweetheart, but then again, I heard they were the original couple, so I guess this isn't really a surprise. I listened to those words, my face expressionless, but my hand clenched the bidding paddle so tightly it nearly broke. As if out of sheer spite, from then on, no matter how Lin Yuling bid against me, I would double her price. An item originally worth only 100,000 was driven up to 1 million by our bidding, and the price kept climbing. The tension between us grew more and more heated. Lin Yuling kept shooting me provocative glances, as if daring me to keep going. Lin Yuling finally stopped bidding once the item's price surpassed 5 million. With a hint of grievance, she tugged at Qin Yangshu's sleeve. Yangshu, you promised me a wedding gift 5 years ago. I want this one. Win it for me. Qin Yangshu first glanced at me, then frowned deeply. Haven't you caused enough trouble? Panxiao likes this piece of jewelry. Why do you have to fight her for it? He spoke in an accusatory tone, yet his hand moved to pat Lin Yuling's head with affection. Lin Yuling's expression froze for a moment before she said petulantly, if you won't buy it for me, then I'll just find another man to buy it, and when I do, I'll have to repay their kindness somehow. As she spoke, she suggestively ran a finger along her pale collarbone. Qin Yangshu's expression darkened instantly. The next second, his sharp reprimand rang out, you dare to threaten me with something like this? Lin Yuling wasn't the least bit afraid, blinking as she looked at him. If you won't pay for me, there are plenty of others who would. With that, a smile playing at the corners of her eyes, she made to stand up. The eyes of everyone around followed the unfolding drama. Qin Yangshu, who was usually so sensitive to others' gazes, could spare no thought for them now. He grabbed Lin Yuling's hand, as if he couldn't take it anymore, and growled, all right, I'll give it to you. Just stop making a scene. With that, he turned to me and said in a tone that brooked no argument, Panxia, Lin Yurong is being terribly unreasonable. She's still young. Could you just let her have her way this time? Looking at the pleading expression in Qin Yangshu's eyes, I lowered my gaze. The next moment, I heard my own faint voice say, fine. 6. After that piece, the rest of the evening seemed to become Lin Yuling's show. She looked at me smugly, raising her paddle to bid on one item after another. She knew that even if she couldn't afford it, Qin Yangshu would foot the bill for her. In a daze, I seemed to see myself from the past 5 years when Qin Yangshu was by my side. I was just as fearless and bold, so all I ever had was Qin Yangshu's transference of feelings. Now that Lin Yuling has appeared, it's time for me to exit the stage. As the auction ended, I turned and walked away, unaware of the hand Qin Yangshu had reached out. He wanted to explain what had just happened, but I was already past caring. It wasn't until we reached the parking lot that he finally stopped me. Seeing the indifference in my eyes, Qin Yangshu explained with a hint of urgency, Panxia, it's not what you think. I just wanted to fulfill a promise I made to Yuling. Look, this is the jewelry I promised to win for you at the auction. As he spoke, he produced a gift box as if presenting a treasure. The gift box contained a complete set of ruby jewelry, absolutely dazzling. But over the past 5 years, Qin Yangshu has given me countless sets of jewelry of this exact caliber. The true finale of today's auction wasn't this ruby set, but rather a complete set of imperial green jade jewelry. Before I could even respond, Qin Yangshu took the necklace from the box and moved closer to me. The distance closed abruptly, and the warmth of his breath made the tips of my ears flush. Let me put it on for you. I instinctively tilted my head away. Qin Yangshu let out a soft chuckle, and the atmosphere suddenly turned charged. To any onlooker, we must have looked like a pair of intertwined mandarin ducks, perfectly matched. The necklace was fastened perfectly in place, and the sharp click of high heels suddenly invaded my ears. She stared at the scene before her, seemingly frozen in place. Then, her eyes welled up with tears, and she turned and walked away. I found myself momentarily lost in thought, gazing at the imperial jade jewelry adorning her. So, the final auction piece that Qin Yangshu had won was right there on her person. Soon after, I was jolted awake by Qin Yangshu's urgent cries, Panxia, Panxia. Seeing that I had snapped out of it, he continued anxiously, I'm worried something might have happened to Yuling. Wait here for me. Let me go explain things to her and bring her back, then we can leave. With that, he left without waiting for my reply. Watching his retreating figure, a slow, seeping ache spread through my chest. Since when did my relationship with him require an explanation to Lin Yuling? After waiting there a while longer, I got ready to leave. The next second, Qin Yangshu burst out from somewhere, cradling Lin Yurong in his arms. She was unconscious and covered in blood. I was horrified and about to ask what had happened when Qin Yangshu shoved me aside with brutal force. Get out of my way. Without a moment's hesitation, he snatched my car keys, stomped on the accelerator, and sped off into the distance. Seeing the somewhat wobbly vehicle, my first instinct was to just walk away, but in the end, I gritted my teeth and followed it anyway. 7. After arriving at the hospital, I finally saw Qin Yangshu waiting outside the operating room. He was covered in Lin Xiaoya's blood, his forehead drenched in sweat, his eyes staring vacantly into the distance, completely oblivious to my arrival. I had never seen him in such a wretched state. Even during the Qin family's most critical moments in the past, He had always remained composed and unflappable. Soon, Qin Yangshu and Lin Yuling's friends began arriving at the scene one after another. Upon seeing them gathered around Qin Yangshu, I held back and didn't approach. Qin Yijin probably isn't too keen on seeing me right now. They quickly formed a tight circle around Qin Yangshu, all talking at once, demanding, "What on earth happened?" Qin Yangshu looked at the brothers before him, his thoughts turning to Lin Yurong, who lay in the operating room fighting for her life. He could hold back no longer. His voice thick with anguish. "It's all my fault," he said. "I never should have given Su Panxia that necklace." Yuling was so upset, she drove too fast and crashed straight into the railing. As he finished speaking, he bowed his head in remorse, a glistening tear tracing a path down his cheek. Anyone could see he was in absolute agony witnessing Qin Yangshu's love for Lin Yuling once more. I thought the pain would stop my very breath, but I just stood there watching. Just like before, the guys had no idea how to comfort the distraught Qin Yangshu. Just then, a nurse rushed out, her hands covered in blood, her face etched with panic. "We can't stop the patient's bleeding, she's type B, and the blood bank is running low. Is anyone here a match?" Before Qin Yangshu could even make out what the nurse was saying, he charged forward. "I'm type O, use my blood." The brothers exchanged glances. Some were type A, others type AB, but not a single one was type B. Just as the nurse was about to lead Qin Yangshu inside, he staggered and nearly collapsed. It was only then I realized that Qin Yangshu's black suit was already soaked with blood. Of course, Qin Yangshu had been in that car too. With Lin Yurong so badly injured, there was no way he could have come out unscathed. Seeing Qin Yangshu still trying to stubbornly charge inside, I finally couldn't hold back any longer. "You're seriously hurt too." Before I could finish, Qin Yangshu shot me a fierce glare. His eyes were filled with a terrifying hatred, as if he blamed me for everything. I paused briefly before continuing. "I'm also type O, let me do it." Qin Yangshu hadn't expected me to say that, and he looked momentarily stunned, but then, he quickly turned his head away. "No need, I can manage on my own." As he said this, he made a move to rush inside. The nurse immediately blocked his path. After seeing the wound on his back, she scolded him. "Sir, I know you're very worried about your girlfriend, but you have such a long gash on you and you're already losing blood. It's a miracle you managed to get her to the hospital. You can't just throw your own life away for her." The nurse's words left me in a daze. So, Qin Yangshu's injuries were that severe, yet he had pulled through for Lin Yurong's sake. He was even prepared to give her a blood transfusion, disregarding his own life. With that thought, I stood up and held Qin Yangshu back. "A life is at stake, let me do it." Perhaps Qin Yangshu was truly too weak, as he took a deep, ragged gasp for air upon seeing me enter the operating room. He finally collapsed backward. The cold needle pierced my arm, and blood began to flow out slowly. The next second, I fell backwards uncontrollably. When I came to again, the nurse looked at me and sighed with pity. "Didn't you know you were pregnant? Why did you have to donate blood for that couple?" "I'm so sorry, we couldn't save the baby." My hands trembling, I reached for my own stomach. Was there ever a little life here? The sound of the hospital room door opening and closing echoed. I stared into the harsh light, tears falling silently. By the time Qin Yangshu woke up, I had already changed back into my regular clothes. He looked at me and blurted out, "Is Yuling awake? Does she still need a blood transfusion?" Seeing his utterly anxious expression, I suddenly thought of that child. Its father didn't even know of its existence. After a moment of silence, I lowered my gaze. "The surgery was a success. She's out of danger, but we lost the baby." I didn't voice that last thought. Qin Yangshu didn't notice my pallor, trying to get out of bed despite her own frail state. "I'll go check on Yuling." Beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. It was clear his body simply couldn't take it. I sighed. "I'll go for you." Qin Yangshu stared at me for a long moment, as if weighing my sincerity. Just as I stood up, he took my hand and said with a strained voice, "Panxia, I know you've had a hard time these past few days. You've been looking after Yuling, my sister, and I'm grateful. Once all this is over, I'll make it up to you." I nodded calmly, then pulled my hand away from his. When I reached Su Panxia's hospital room, I knocked on the door. Lin Yuling hadn't woken up yet. After a moment's thought, I turned and went into the room. A report lay on the hospital room table, bearing Lin Yuling's name. As if compelled by some unseen force, I picked up that report. It revealed that Lin Yuling had fallen into a coma due to massive hemorrhaging from an ectopic pregnancy, and the date on it was from several months ago. The child she's carrying isn't Qin Yangshu's. For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel relieved or furious. The whole situation was utterly absurd. I set the report down, turned, and walked out of the hospital room. Just around the corner, I overheard the voices of the nurses from last night. that couple from last night. I really thought they were deeply in love, the man seemed so devoted. But it turns out the girl has had several abortions. This time, the massive bleeding was because of an ectopic pregnancy. It's so strange. I saw how well he treated her. His injuries were clearly from shielding her during the car accident. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been hurt so badly. If he cares for her that much, why would he let her have abortions? Their voices faded into the distance. I stood there frozen in place, unable to believe what I had just heard. Lin Xiao had had an abortion, more than once. In fact, I didn't know how to process this information. Just as I was about to leave, a faint, eerie voice came from behind me. You heard everything. 9. I turned and saw that it was Lin Yurong. Her face deathly pale, she stared at me, her expression contorted, a flash of venom in her eyes. Why do you need to know all that? Are you planning to go back and tell Yangshu? I won't give you that chance. As she spoke, she lunged forward and seized my wrist with a grip so tight. I had no idea where she found such strength. Let go of me. Lin Yuling glared at me fiercely, her face contorted with rage. I won't let you go back and tell on me. She dragged me towards the staircase. Die, just die. With a twisted, vicious expression on her face, she said this and pushed me down. I struggled desperately, looking at her in disbelief. You should have died long ago. Did you think I didn't know you donated blood just to win Yangshu's favor? If I hadn't left, you would never have had a chance with him. Qin Yangshu was always mine. Don't you dare try to take him from me. Hearing her mocking words, I could hold back no longer. I pushed her away with all my strength. As angry as I was, I didn't want Lin Yuling to die. I was pushing her towards the hallway, but the next second, she gave me a sinister smile, her mouth moving as she said, you fell for it. In the blink of an eye, she threw herself down the stairs without hesitation. My heart clenched, just as I was trying to figure out what was happening. A furious roar came from behind me. Su Panxia, what are you doing? Qin Yangshu shoved me aside and, in a few quick strides, scooped up Lin Yurong from the foot of the stairs. Lin Yurong's body was once again drenched in blood, just like the night before. With her blood-stained hand, she gently touched Qin Yangshu's face and said weakly, don't blame Sister Panxia, it's my fault. The next second, her eyes closed, her fate unknown. Qin Yangshu looked at me with seething resentment, and I could only shake my head weakly in response. It wasn't me. She fell on her own. In the face of Lin Yurong's injury, my explanation felt utterly feeble. Qin Yangshu shot me a look of profound disappointment. I never imagined you could do something like this. Even if Yuling did do something wrong, she's still a patient. Why can't you show her some understanding? Under the weight of his disappointed gaze, I came so close to spilling everything, but Qin Yangshu didn't give me that chance. After saying that, he turned and left, carrying Lin Yuling in his arms. Watching his resolute figure walk away, I knew that even if I had just laid out the whole truth, he wouldn't have believed me. At that thought, I let out a bitter laugh, forced my weary body up, and walked in the opposite direction from Qin Yangshu. Clutching the processed emigration papers in my hand, I stared at my silent phone and closed my eyes for a moment. Perhaps my leaving is for the best, for all three of us. In that case, Qin Yangshu, farewell. 10. After carrying Lin Yurong around the corner, Qin Yangshu, as if compelled by some unseen force, glanced back. He watched Su Panxia's figure recede into the distance. Her body was still as frail and delicate as ever, yet her departure was resolute, unwavering. Qin Yangshu stood frozen for a moment, only snapped back to reality by a pained whimper from Lin Yurong in his arms. The most urgent thing for him to do right now was to take Lin Yurong back to her ward and have someone check on her condition. No matter what had happened to Su Panxia, he would have to put her matter on the back burner for now. Only after everything was settled and Lin Yurong had fallen into a deep sleep did Qin Yangshu finally have a moment to think about what had just happened. Su Panxia's recent behavior had given him pause. Su Panxia didn't seem like the kind of person who would do those things, and the look of grievance on her face just now was unmistakable. Upon hearing his words, the light in her perpetually bright eyes dimmed, sending a sharp pang through his heart. But almost immediately, this very pang of sympathy made him treat Su Panxia even more harshly. Lin Yuling was clearly the one who got hurt. No matter what Lin Yuling did, Su Panxia shouldn't have treated her that way. After all, Lin Yuling had just had surgery. Thinking of this, Qin Yangshu suppressed the strange feeling in his heart. Over the next few days, he did not reach out to Su Panxia. He thought they both needed some time to cool off. What's more, Lin Yuling still needed his care, leaving him with no time at all to have a proper talk with Su Panxia. That day, he returned to the hospital with the trendy cake from Qingnan Bakery that Lin Yuling had specifically requested. Before even entering, he overheard the conversation between the doctor and Lin Yuling. Miss Lin, here is your discharge paperwork. Lin Yuling's voice came out, hesitant. Doctor, will what happened have any lasting effects on my health? Qin Yangshu's heart clenched. Even with prompt medical attention, had Lin Yuling's body still suffered some damage. At this thought, Qin Yangshu's brow furrowed tightly. Just as he was about to keep listening, his phone suddenly rang, interrupting the conversation inside. Qin Yangshu had no choice but to leave for the moment. When the phone rang, Lin Yuling looked outside, instantly alert, but after finding no one there, she turned her anxious gaze back to the doctor. The doctor frowned deeply and spoke with a tone of warning. While this ectopic pregnancy has been resolved, your uterine lining has become dangerously thin due to your history of multiple miscarriages. If this pattern continues, you are at a very high risk of becoming infertile. The doctor's words sent a jolt of fear through Lin Yuling. The light suddenly faded from her eyes. In the past, she had rejected Qin Yangshu's marriage proposal, choosing instead to chase the excitement of the world outside. She was confident that Qin Yangshu would wait for her, no matter how long it took, but she never expected Su Panxia to suddenly appear and throw a wrench in the works. Fortunately, she acted swiftly. Now, Su Panxia's image in Qin Yangshu's mind must be thoroughly tarnished. With just a little more maneuvering on her part, everything would return to the way it was. Well, she's had her fun. It's about time she went back to Qin Yangshu. For the time being, Qin Yangshu was unaware of Lin Yurong's thoughts. By the time he returned from his phone call, Lin Yurong's conversation with the doctor had long since concluded. Watching the doctor pass slowly by, Qin Yangshu considered asking about Lin Yurong's condition, but for some reason, the doctor just glanced at him and hurried away. Qin Yangshu thought about the doctor's look, feeling somewhat puzzled. However, Lin Yurong inside the ward had already started calling his name, so he didn't dwell on it further. Opening the ward door, he saw Lin Yurong looking at him with a hurt expression. Yangshu, where have you been? I've missed you so much. Looking at Lin Yurong's coquettish face, Qin Yangshu felt an inexplicable unease in his heart. The image of Su Panxia's face suddenly flashed through his mind. 11 Even these days, he wanted to give each other some space to cool off, but he never expected that Su Panxia would truly never contact him again. Since they got married, they had never gone this long without speaking. Even when they argued, Su Panxia would always reach out to him if more than a day passed, whether it was calling him back for a meal or wanting to have a talk. He would always agree. They had agreed to try not to let a Cold War last more than 3 days, but now, it had been over 7 days since they last had any contact. Having gone so long without seeing Su Panxia, he was starting to feel that something was off. Lin Yuling noticed his distraction. With a hint of annoyance, she tugged at Qin Yangshu's sleeve and complained, Qin Yangshu, what's wrong with you? I'm talking to you, and you're completely ignoring me. Her action snapped Qin Yangshu back to attention. He somewhat restrainedly pulled her hand away and said calmly, it's almost time for you to be discharged. Take good care of yourself after you go back. Call me if you need anything. Lin Yuling stared at Qin Yangshu in disbelief. What's wrong with you? Are you saying you won't take care of me once I'm discharged from the hospital? Qin Yangshu frowned. It's not that I won't take care of you. I've already told you. You can call me if you need anything. Yuling, I'm married now. Even when looking after my own sister, there have to be boundaries. The only reason I've been here these past few days is because Panxia pushed you, but since she donated blood for you and isn't in good health herself, I came to look after you on her behalf, to make up for what she did. But once you're discharged, everything needs to go back to normal. Lin Yuling couldn't believe what she was hearing. Why would Qin Yangshu say something like that? The words burst out of her. But you and Su Panxia aren't married, are you? You don't even have a marriage certificate. Qin Yangshu's brow furrowed tightly. He hadn't expected Lin Yuling to state these things so matter-of-factly. The gentle expression on his face vanished in an instant. His gaze towards Lin Yuling turned somewhat cold. Su Panxia and I are already married. Even without the marriage certificate, we are married. We've lived together for many years. Once you're discharged from the hospital, I plan to officially register our marriage with her. I hope you'll attend our 5th anniversary celebration. Qin Yangshu spoke with finality, leaving Lin Yuling not a shred of hope. His resolute attitude instantly derailed all of Lin Yuling's plans. Lin Yuling never imagined that Qin Yangshu actually had feelings for that woman, Su Panxia. Even after everything Su Panxia had done to her, he could still cut ties with her so decisively. A flash of venom flickered in her eyes, but she quickly composed her expression. She looked at Qin Yangshu with a playful grin, pretending the whole thing had been a joke. What are you talking about, Qin Yangshu? I was just kidding. Of course I know you're married, but it's true you and Su Panxia never officially registered your marriage. Haven't you two managed just fine all these years? If you suddenly go and register your marriage with Su Panxia now, you'll have to dredge up the past. Wouldn't that just make her suspicious? Qin Yangshu was about to reply, but seeing the glimmer of tears in Lin Yuling's eyes, he swallowed the words on the tip of his tongue. Never mind, Lin Yuling is still just a kid, she doesn't understand anything, besides, she just got hurt recently, it's better not to upset her. Qin Yangshu swallowed all his words, using every excuse he could think of. Alright, you're being discharged tomorrow, I'll handle the paperwork. Once you're home, focus on resting properly. Don't go back to your old habit of sneaking off to bars in the middle of the night. Without another glance at Lin Yuling, Qin Yangshu turned and walked out of the hospital room. 12. After returning to the office, Lin Yuling sent him a flurry of messages. Yangshu, I was wrong to leave you and go abroad, I'm truly sorry, it wasn't intentional, I was young back then and didn't understand what truly mattered, but now I understand. Yangshu, all I want is to be by your side, just like when we were kids, don't you remember? You promised you'd always be good to me, that you'd love me forever. If you've fallen for Su Panxia, that's okay. I just want to be able to stay with you. After sending those messages, Lin Yuling also sent quite a few photos from their childhood. Looking at the photos of their younger selves and Lin Yuling's innocent, smiling face, Qin Yangshu let out a deep sigh. Then, tapping away on his phone, he sent a message back to Lin Yuling. Forget it, what happened in the past is over, you should let it go too. Yuling, if Panxia found out, she'd be upset, but he quickly deleted the message. Lin Yuling hadn't fully recovered yet. Sending something like that would only upset her. At this thought, Qin Yangshu rubbed his forehead. He and Lin Yuling were childhood sweethearts, and it was only natural that they ended up together. Before Lin Yuling went abroad, he had never imagined being with anyone else, but fate works in mysterious ways. On the eve of their wedding, Lin Yuling chose to go abroad without a second thought, leaving him behind. Despite his repeated pleas for her to return, she never did. In the end, heartbroken and utterly despondent, he agreed to the arranged marriage his family had proposed. He had resigned himself to the belief that he would never love anyone else again. Even his kindness towards Su Panxia was merely a duty he felt obliged to fulfill as a husband. The more time he spent with Su Panxia, the more his heart fluttered for her. If Lin Yuling hadn't returned, he might have realized his true feelings after their long time together. Then, he would have been with Su Panxia, falling in love 5 years into their marriage. But just at that moment, Lin Yuling came back. They had been together for so long that Qin Yangshu had long grown accustomed to loving Lin Yuling, even though he knew there might be no real feeling left in his heart for Lin Yuling. But a habit, once formed, is not so easily broken. When Lin Yuling repeatedly invited him out, even though he knew it was wrong, yet, under the guise of their childhood friendship, he openly went out to meet Lin Yuling. Later on, the situation spiraled further out of control. Lin Yuling hadn't changed in the slightest, she was exactly the same as before she went abroad. For a moment, he felt as if he had been transported back to the past. Amid the crowd's adulation and clamor, he gradually lost himself. He forgot that he was, in fact, already married. He forgot how Lin Yuling had abandoned him in the past. He forgot about Su Panxia, who was still waiting for him at home. Time and again, he would use all sorts of excuses to go out and meet with Lin Yuling. Perhaps Su Panxia had sensed something was amiss. That's why she ended up pushing Lin Yuling down the stairs, and it was precisely this incident that made Qin Yangshu finally see the light. His and Lin Yuling's actions have reached a breaking point. They can't go on like this. The memory of Su Panxia turning and walking away made Qin Yangshu's heart ache with a dull pain once more. 13. Although he knew what he should do now, Qin Yangshu still didn't know how to face Su Panxia. Throughout their marriage, he had rarely tried to comfort Su Panxia. What's more, Su Panxia had never been this angry before, nor had she ever gone this long without contacting him. With an evasive mindset, he retreated to the old family home. After a day or two at the old house, Lin Yuling also started showing up at his door. Despite Qin Yangshu's best efforts to avoid it, his mother was determined to play matchmaker for the two of them. In the end, Qin Yangshu had no choice but to take constant refuge at the office. On one of his rare visits home, his mother seized the opportunity and went straight to his study. Looking at Qin Yangshu, his mother said with a smile, I know you must still have feelings for Yuling. If Yuling hadn't gone abroad back then, you two wouldn't have split up. But now that she's back, you're perfectly free to be with her. As she spoke, she frowned and gestured dismissively, as if recalling something distasteful. A while ago, Yuling told me you didn't register your marriage with Su Panxia because of some offhand remark she made. I thought that was a good move at the time. If it weren't for your father insisting on that arranged marriage with Su Panxia, and you going along with it, I would never have agreed to that match. Even though Su Panxia's family background is comparable to ours, I just don't take to her like I do Yuling. She doesn't act like a proper woman at all. as your wife. Instead of staying home dutifully to look after you, she has to go out and work, and even at the Su family's company, no less. What if she steals our Qin group's trade secrets and takes them back there? As she spoke, Mrs. Qin's willow leaf eyebrows shot up in a look of utter fury. She said with deep sincerity, "You're not getting any younger. You must realize by now how important it is for you to find a suitable partner. If Su Panxia were any good, I wouldn't be saying this. The Lin family's circumstances are far beneath ours, but the saving grace is Yuling. You like her, and so do I. Life is far too long. The thought of you spending a lifetime with Su Panxia is unbearable. Listen to your mother. Make things clear with her immediately. Since you're not even legally married, just send her packing." Mrs. Qin went on, rattling off a whole litany of complaints. Qin Yangshu had long been aware that his mother wasn't particularly fond of Su Panxia, but he never imagined she would go this far. Even if she said such things from his perspective, it was still truly excessive. Besides, the person he liked now wasn't Lin Yiling at all, but Su Panxia. At this thought, Qin Yangshu's brow furrowed tightly. "Mom, who on earth told you these things? I really care about Panxia, otherwise I wouldn't have agreed to marry her. I know you're very fond of Lin Yiling, but she and I are ancient history. Please calm down. I won't leave Su Panxia. In a few days, I'll go with her to get the marriage certificate we missed. It was just an oversight, and I'll make it right." Mrs. Qin hadn't expected her son to say such things. She had been about to argue, but seeing the earnest look on Qin Yangshu's face, she realized he was telling the truth. In an instant, her eyes widened in disbelief. "What's going on with you? Didn't you say you liked Yuling before? How could everything change now? If you do this, think how heartbroken that child Yuling will be." As Mrs. Qin spoke, it was as if she could see Lin Yiling's sorrowful face, and the look she gave Qin Yangshu turned cold. She genuinely liked that child. Lin Yiling and Qin Yangshu grew up together. As a child, Lin Yiling was exceptionally sweet and well-behaved. Precisely because of this, Qin Yangshu's mother held a very favorable impression of Lin Yiling. Even after Lin Yiling did those things when she grew up, Qin's mother simply thought she had temporarily lost her way. Once Lin Yiling showed remorse, she forgave her. 14. Qin Yangshu furrowed his brow tightly and let out a sigh. "Mom, didn't you always say that spending a lifetime with someone you don't love is the greatest misery? Well, Lin Yiling is that person for me. Being with her would be pure agony. Do you really want to watch me suffer through a life with her?" Upon hearing Qin Yangshu's words, Mrs. Qin was completely stunned. She hadn't realized the situation had gotten this bad. Qin Yangshu could no longer spend his life with Lin Yiling. In fact, the very thought of a lifetime with her had become unbearable. At this thought, she let out a sigh. "Forget it. I don't want to be involved in your affairs anymore. I thought you and Lin Yiling were still in love. Since you say you've fallen for Su Panxia now, then you should just be with her and make it work." She looked at Qin Yangshu's earnest face, took out a box, and slid it across the table toward him. "This is the jewelry your grandmother gave me years ago, meant to be passed down to the daughter-in-law. Back then, because of my own selfish hopes that you and Yiling would end up together, I never gave this set to Su Panxia. To be honest, I still don't care much for Su Panxia. She doesn't take proper care of you, and in all those years you were married, I never once saw any real affection from you toward her. I thought you were just giving up on yourself after Yiling left, that you'd settle for anyone. I know how miserable a marriage without love can be, so in my heart, I've always wanted you to find true happiness. But now, since you say you'll only be happy with Su Panxia, and that she's the one you love, fine, I'll accept that. I can't control what young people do. Here, I'm giving you this jewelry set. You can give it to whomever you want." With that, she handed the jewelry set to Qin Yangshu. Qin Yangshu looked at the box in his hands, and an image of Su Panxia suddenly appeared before his eyes. His wedding with Su Panxia had looked magnificent, largely because both families were quite wealthy. Yet, Qin Yangshu always felt something was missing. It wasn't until now that he realized what was missing: the groom's genuine smile. Back then, Su Panxia was beaming with joy, but because of Lin Yiling's departure, he never truly found peace. Even after choosing to marry Su Panxia for the alliance, he thought that he and Su Panxia would need to get their marriage certificate reissued, and of course, hold their wedding ceremony all over again. They could do it in the name of an anniversary celebration. Then, at the wedding, he could present this set of jewelry to Su Panxia openly and properly. That way, everything could be set right. He and Su Panxia would get back on track, too. At this thought, a faint smile crept onto Qin Yangshu's face. He felt this was the perfect opportunity to make up with Su Panxia. He could go back to the home he shared with Su Panxia right now and apologize to her. Su Panxia would forgive him every time they argued. Su Panxia would forgive him like this, so this time would be no exception. 15 A little happily, he took out his phone. Ready to call Su Panxia. Half a month had passed, and this was his first attempt to reach out to Su Panxia. Qin Yangshu scrolled through his old chat history with Su Panxia. He couldn't pinpoint when it started, but Su Panxia's replies in their chats had gradually grown shorter. At the beginning, Su Panxia was full of enthusiasm when chatting with him. She would share everything with him, no matter what happened. But ever since Lin Yurong returned to the country and he started making excuses to go out and meet with her, their conversations became less frequent and much briefer. For some reason, a sudden pang of pain shot through Qin Yangshu's chest. Only now did he realize what he had truly done to Su Panxia during that time. Suppressing the panic in his heart, he dialed Su Panxia's number, but before he could even place the call, another number came barging in. Without noticing, Qin Yangshu tapped on it. Lin Yurong's voice immediately came through the phone. Yangshu, I'm going to get together today, all the guys are going, you should come too. No, I've got something on. Qin Yangshu flatly refused. Lin Yuling on the other end of the line. Lin Yuling instantly became dejected, her voice taking on a hurt tone. Yangshu, what's going on with you? Ever since I was discharged from the hospital, you barely come to see me. When I go to the old house looking for you, you always pawn me off on the housekeeper. Do you hate me now? As she spoke, Lin Yuling's voice began to tremble with emotion. If this were the Qin Yangshu from a while ago, he would have been heartbroken by now, making all sorts of excuses to convince himself to agree to Lin Yuling's request. But now, Qin Yangshu felt nothing in his heart. He waited calmly until Lin Yuling on the other end of the phone had finished her tearful complaints before speaking. Yuling, you're an adult now. You should understand that there's no future for us. I'm married to Panxia. I've told you this many times. If you still don't get it, let me say it one more time. I won't be going out with you anymore. It's not appropriate. Do you understand? After speaking, Qin Yangshu didn't wait for a reply from Lin Yuling on the other end of the line and simply hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Qin Yangshu let out a long, deep sigh of relief. So, turning down Lin Yurong was actually that simple. By the time Qin Yangshu returned to the villa, dusk was already settling in. From a distance, Qin Yangshu couldn't make it out clearly, but as he approached, he realized the villa's lights were still off. Not only that, but the villa, which was usually filled with voices, was now deathly quiet. For a moment, Qin Yangshu thought he had come to the wrong place, but soon after entering, he realized not only were the lights off, but the villa was completely empty. In the past, although Su Panxia and Qin Yangshu were both busy with their own careers, but every time Qin Yangshu returned home, Su Panxia would always be there at the door to greet him. That ordinary happiness now seemed to have faded into the distant past. At this thought, Qin Yangshu fell silent for a moment. He switched on the light softly, and as he looked at everything before him, his mind suddenly went blank. The living room felt hollow and empty. The wedding photos he had taken with Su Panxia were now gone. Only the faint marks they left on the wall remained. The little trinkets Su Panxia had bought, the souvenirs from their travels together. The little yellow lamp that was always on in the living room was now gone, too. For some reason, Qin Yangshu's heart was suddenly gripped by a strange feeling. This time, it seemed Su Panxia wouldn't forgive him so easily. How could this be? How could so many things be missing? Qin Yangshu muttered to himself, but the villa was now empty, with no one to answer his question. 16 Qin Yangshu wandered through the villa, searching again and again, but he could find no trace of Su Panxia. Pan, where are you? Pan, I know I messed up before, but can you please forgive me? I brought you a gift, you'll love it, won't you come out and see? I picked it out for ages. Mom got you something too. Please, just let me explain. He called out loudly, his voice echoing through the villa. He desperately hoped Su Panxia could hear him and come out to see him, yet Qin Yangshu knew with painful clarity that Su Panxia was not here. Stumbling to the sofa, he sat down and, with trembling hands, finally made the call to Su Panxia he should have made long ago. The phone rang and rang, but Su Panxia on the other end never picked up. In the end, all that answered was the cold, automated voice of a machine. He stood up, looking around the villa in a daze, unable to comprehend how things had come to this. It was such a trivial matter. After all, even if he had been a bit harsh with Su Panxia, it was only because she had done something wrong in the first place. Why did she have to leave him? Qin Yangshu stood in the living room, at a loss for how to find Su Panxia. Just then, his best friend gave him a call. After a moment's thought, he answered the phone. What's up? On the other end of the line, his good friend hesitated for a moment before saying, I think you should come and see this. You might find the truth you're looking for here. Qin Yangshu lowered his gaze as a sudden possibility occurred to him. Could it be that Su Panxia was there? At the thought of this possibility, Qin Yangshu's spirits suddenly soared. He opened his phone and asked his buddy to send over the location. Upon discovering the location was actually a bar, Qin Yangshu furrowed his brow tightly. Su Panxia rarely frequented such places before. Could it be because she was just too upset, or are you thinking of going out to unwind a bit? Either way, Qin Yangshu was determined to go straight over and bring Su Panxia back. Once he arrived at the bar, a few of his close buddies immediately surrounded Qin Yangshu. Speaking with some urgency, he said, "Yangshu, I know this is hard to hear, but I think you need to know, brace yourself. We never expected her to do something like this, but don't worry, Yangshu, we're all on your side." They were all childhood friends of Qin Yangshu. Seeing them suddenly so serious, Qin Yangshu realized the gravity of the situation. Could it be that Su Panxia got together with someone else just to provoke him? Realizing this, Qin Yangshu's expression darkened. He reached out and pushed open the compartment door before him, fully prepared to face whatever was inside. However, to his surprise, all his preparations were for nothing. 17. Before his eyes, a couple was locked in a passionate kiss. They were on the verge of taking things to the next level. So engrossed was she that the woman didn't hear the sound at the door at all. She giggled coyly and said to the man beside her, "You have to use a condom tonight. I've had too many abortions. I can't get pregnant again. I still plan to have a few children for my husband someday." The man chuckled playfully and gave her backside a squeeze. "Your husband, you mean that?" cuckold Qin Yangshu. "I heard you two were childhood sweethearts, and you dumped him without a second thought right before the wedding. If I remember correctly, he's married now, isn't he?" The man's words annoyed the woman. She pouted and gave his arm a playful punch. "Don't you know how irresistible I am? Back then, I just had to casually mention it, and he didn't go through with getting the marriage certificate with that woman. Now, all I need to do is play a little trick, and he'll obediently come crawling back to me. Of course, that means you'll have to bow out of the picture." She reached out her hand, tracing slow, continuous circles on the man's chest. The man pulled her tightly into his embrace. "Wasn't the last child you carried mine? If it hadn't been an ectopic pregnancy, I would have let you keep it. If you managed to get back with that Qin Yangshu, how about having another one for me? I promise I won't fight him for the title of father. I'll make sure you enjoy it." As he spoke, he blew a soft breath against the woman's ear. Qin Yangshu stared expressionlessly at the appalling scene before him. The woman before him was not Su Panxia. This realization made Qin Yangshu heave a deep sigh of relief. That woman was Lin Yiling. Everything she said to that man completely shattered Qin Yangshu's understanding of her. Built up over so many years, the Lin Yiling he knew was a bit spoiled and somewhat naive about the boundaries between men and women, but she would never be the kind of woman who was this promiscuous, this morally loose. Did her time abroad corrupt her? No, that's not it at all. Qin Yangshu instantly dismissed the thought from his mind. Perhaps, from the very beginning, Lin Yiling had been quietly decaying in places he knew nothing about. It was only now that he was seeing this side of her. Qin Yangshu had expected to be absolutely furious at the sight before him, but to his surprise, while there was a flicker of anger in his heart, he also felt a wave of relief wash over him. If Lin Yiling was that kind of person, then it seemed nothing he did mattered anymore. With that thought, it was as if an invisible chain had been broken. All those promises made in his youth had now turned to ashes in Qin Yangshu's memory. He could finally let go of Lin Yiling. Having relaxed, Qin Yangshu did not continue to look at the scene before him. Instead, he turned to leave. At that very moment, Lin Yurong, who had been lost in their ambiguous kiss, suddenly seemed to sense something. She whipped her head around to look outside, but only caught sight of Qin Yangshu's retreating back. That silhouette was all too familiar. She recognized who it was in an instant. She realized what she had just been doing, and that Qin Yangshu had seen everything. Lin Yiling's eyes couldn't help but well up with terror. She struggled desperately to break free from the man's embrace, but he, unaware of the truth, mistook it for her wanting to try something new. Watching Qin Yangshu walk further and further away, Lin Yiling's expression twisted with distress. "Get the hell out of my way." She slapped the man hard across the face and rushed out, leaving him staring after her with a mix of confusion and fury. 18. Meanwhile, on the other side, Qin Yangshu had already regrouped with his crew. Qin Yangshu's brothers watched him with cautious apprehension. Upon learning of the matter, their faces were filled with fury. After an internal struggle, they decided to tell Qin Yangshu the whole truth. They had expected him to break down or fly into a rage, but unexpectedly, there was no trace of anger on his face. If anything, he looked somewhat at ease. His gaze was also exceptionally calm. The group of brothers asked cautiously, "Yangshu, are you okay?" A relaxed smile spread across Qin Yangshu's face. It's just that Lin Yurong is in a relationship. As her childhood friends, we should be happy for her. Why would I be upset? Upon hearing this, the group of brothers exchanged looks of surprise. But, Yangshu, didn't you really like Yurong before? We all grew up together. We've seen how good you were to her. You'd have given your life for her. You even risked not registering your marriage with Su Panxia because of some bet with Lin Yurong. What Lin Yuling did to you is absolutely unforgivable. Are you sure you're okay? Qin Yangshu could understand the concern of his brothers. In the past. He had indeed been exceptionally good to Lin Yuling, to the point of disregarding his own life, but ever since Lin Yuling went abroad and he got together with Su Panxia, a vague notion had begun to form in his heart. He and Lin Yuling are a thing of the past. He has a new life now, a new love, and he is committed to his new marriage. Lin Yuling is history. It's just that he used to be hung up on old ideas. Only now have I finally let go of it all. That's all in the past. I'm married to Su Panxia now. I've said it before, even without that marriage certificate. She is still my wife, and soon, we'll get the certificate again and have a new wedding. Everything will get back on track. Seeing Lin Yuling find a new place to belong, I'm genuinely happy for her in my heart. He spoke with firm resolve, his expression calm. It was just as he had said all along. The groomsmen exchanged glances, realizing that what Qin Yangshu said was actually true, even though the long-term couple didn't get married with them as witnesses. But Su Panxia really was a good woman. Before Lin Yuling returned, they viewed the marriage between Qin Yangshu and Su Panxia with a touch of regret, yet they remained optimistic about it. During that period, Qin Yangshu was genuinely happy, even if he didn't realize it himself. But after Lin Yuling came back, they were all blinded by the affections of their youth, unable to see the truth of the matter. Thank goodness, there's still time to make things right. Under the warm, congratulatory gazes of his friends, Qin Yangshu prepared to leave. At that very moment, Lin Yurong burst out from the private room with a panicked look. She grabbed Qin Yangshu's arm and pleaded urgently, Yangshu, let me explain. It's not what you think. It was him. He forced me. I didn't want this. Please, just let me explain. Will you just listen to me? Qin Yangshu simply and calmly pulled his hand free from her grasp and turned to leave. 19. Lin Yuling grabbed his arm once more, her face a picture of desperate pleading. Yangshu, I know you've misunderstood. Please, just hear me out. I truly never expected to see you here. I just came out to clear my head. I never imagined something like this would happen. You know me. I'm always so well behaved. How could I possibly do something like that? Lin Yuling frantically tried to explain. Qin Yangshu simply looked at her with a detached expression. Lin Yurong, I heard everything you just said to that man. I'm not your husband. And you don't owe me any explanations. We're just friends. Nothing more. You remember what you told him, don't you? So, there's really no need to explain anything to me. Qin Yangshu's words were crystal clear. The more Lin Yuling listened, the paler her face became. She never imagined that Qin Yangshu had not only seen her kissing that man but had also overheard everything she said. Just thinking about what she had just said was enough to make Lin Yuling feel like she was falling apart. Her health no longer allows her to live a life of romantic dalliances. The only person Lin Yuling could hold on to, who would treat her well and came from a better family background than her own, was Qin Yangshu. Moreover, even if Lin Yuling hadn't said it, she knew deep down that she actually liked Qin Yangshu. Who wouldn't like a handsome and wealthy man? The thought of losing Qin Yangshu completely was more than Lin Yuling could bear, and a wave of panic overwhelmed her. She shrieked, "But you promised you'd always love me. You have to stand by your word. You have to keep loving me, no matter what I do." Lin Yuling's scream echoed through the entire bar. Everyone heard her. Qin Yangshu's friends looked even more indignant. Lin Yuling, what on earth are you talking about? Wasn't it you who gave up on Yangshu first? Back then, if you hadn't left, you and Qin Yangshu would have been married long ago. Everything was your choice. We originally supported you and brother Qin being together, but now it seems brother Qin's decision to marry Su Panxia was absolutely the right one. You are just too greedy. Even though we grew up together, I have to say it. Everyone's gaze towards Lin Yuling was filled with disgust. Only Qin Yangshu remained as composed as ever. From the moment he learned the whole truth, his heart was no longer present. Right now, all he wanted was for his assistant to quickly locate Su Panxia. He wanted to go and tell Su Panxia everything, to lay all the truth bare before her, apologize to Su Panxia, and after obtaining her forgiveness, he could then naturally fulfill everything he had promised. At this thought, Qin Yangshu's movements to leave became even more urgent, but Lin Yuling clung desperately to his hand, refusing to let go. Qin Yangshu furrowed his brow, his gaze towards Lin Yuling growing visibly impatient. I've made myself perfectly clear. We're not getting back together, everything between us ended when you went abroad. From now on, we'll just be acquaintances, if you're not okay with that, then we can be strangers. The only person I have feelings for is Su Panxia. With that, Qin Yangshu decisively pulled his hand free from Lin Yuling's grasp and walked towards the parking lot. He walked away briskly, as if shaking off a heavy burden. Lin Yuling desperately chased after him, but still couldn't catch up. She could only plead with Qin Yangshu feebly, begging him to stop for the sake of their past feelings. She wished Qin Yangshu would treat her the way he used to. Lin Yuling's wails were piercing, and the commotion behind Qin Yangshu was overwhelming, yet he never once looked back. 20 Upon arriving home and seeing the villa was still empty, the agitation in Qin Yangshu's heart gradually subsided. Ever since Su Panxia left, this place has stopped feeling like a home. The once warm and cozy little house had turned cold and desolate, offering Qin Yangshu not a shred of comfort. He lowered his gaze, took out his phone, and dialed his assistant's number. Use all the connections and resources of the Qin group to find my wife, the sooner, the better. An impulse surged within Qin Yangshu, urging him to find Su Panxia immediately. If he waited any longer, he feared it would be too late. As for why it would be too late, even Qin Yangshu himself didn't know. The assistant quickly agreed. Half an hour later, the assistant sent a message. Mr. Qin, the only information we've been able to find is that your wife has obtained immigration documents. The destination country is M. As for anything else, we currently have no way of finding further information. The assistant's voice grew softer and softer, eventually trailing off into silence. Qin Yangshu's brow furrowed tightly. What's going on? How is it that we can't find any information on Su Panxia? Go and file a police report in my name right now. Tell them Su Panxia is missing. I need to know her exact location. As soon as Qin Yangshu finished speaking, his assistant replied timidly, Mr. Qin, we did consider reporting it to the police. However, the authorities have verified that you and Madam have no formal relationship, so we cannot file a report for her disappearance on those grounds. Furthermore, representatives from the Su family have already been in contact with the police, acting on behalf of Madam's family. They stated that she is currently safe and sound. Therefore, this avenue is also close to us. After hearing his assistant's words, Qin Yangshu was completely stunned. He had thought everything could still be salvaged. He and Su Panxia would soon return to how they used to be. But he never imagined that without that marriage certificate, he couldn't even search for her in the capacity of Su Panxia's husband. At this thought, Qin Yangshu closed his eyes in anguish. Everything, absolutely everything, was conspiring to keep him from finding Su Panxia. He had only made one small mistake, yet he was denied any chance to make amends. Everyone had already bound him to the gallows. With trembling hands, he sent a message to his assistant. He instructed him to continue searching for news of Su Panxia. He needed a more precise location for her. He was determined to find Su Panxia, no matter what it took. 21 When the plane touched down in Los Angeles, someone sent by the Su family was already waiting outside. All these years, I may have been lost in the game of love with Qin Yangshu, but I never gave up on my career, and now, all of that has finally paid off. I secured the Su family's overseas expansion business. I have also rightfully inherited half of the Su family's shares. Even though the Su family has many male heirs in line, I didn't lose out to any of them. I even ended up with more power than any of them. At that thought, I glanced at the itinerary I carried with me and allowed a faint, long-absent smile to touch my lips. No sooner had I stepped out of the jet bridge than Secretary Chen approached, accompanied by a tall, well-built man. Panxia, it's been so long. Do you still remember me? The man's radiant smile instantly transported me back to that summer. Gu Xingzhou is the heir to the Gu family. Back then, he and I attended the same high school. We were very close, but after graduating high school, Gu Xingzhou chose to study abroad due to family obligations. All these years, we've kept in touch via our phones. It's been a while, but the bond is still there. With that thought, I walked over to Gu Xingzhou. Long time no see. Not that I missed you, since we just talked last night. Gu Xingzhou burst into laughter after hearing that. You have a point there. For Su Group's overseas projects, learning from the Gu Group is essential. They were the first major corporation to expand overseas, so they have extensive experience in this area. Although my relationship with Gu Xingzhou is excellent, Su Group isn't mine alone, after all, so let's just follow the rules. I'll leave the Su family matter to you, but let's proceed exactly as we agreed. Gu Xingzhou looked at me and agreed with a smile. Then, with great enthusiasm, he pulled me along as we headed out, talking all the while. When I first arrived here, I thought about all the places I'd take you if you ever came to visit. The food in M country is nothing special, but some of the architecture is quite beautiful. There are also a few places with decent fried chicken and Western food. I've written them all down in my notebook, ready to show you when you get here, Gu Xingzhou said, as he started telling me about his early days here. Those past events must have had a pretty significant impact on him at the time. The local gang culture in M country is rampant, and there's a lot of messy business going on here. On top of that, Gu Zimo also took some time to adjust when he first arrived, and now, he recounts these experiences with such ease. He even adds a hint of a teasing tone to it. Knowing I was new and needed experience, he subtly imparted these lessons to me in this way. When I realized that, I was genuinely touched. Even though a long time has passed, the bond between us doesn't seem to have faded. Panxia, when I went abroad back then, I asked if you wanted to come with me, and when you graduated from university, I asked you again if we should move part of the Su family business overseas, but there's no doubt about it, you rejected me and went on to marry that Qin Yangshu. So why are you suddenly showing up now? What about your husband? Are you just going to ignore him? Qin Yangshu's question left me silent for a moment. I really hadn't told him anything about Qin Yangshu. It's only natural that he has questions now. I stared at Gu Xingzhou for a long moment before finally speaking in a calm voice. Of course, in high school, it was because I was still young and hadn't gained much power within the Su family. It was the same in university. Now is the right time. As for Qin Yangshu, I have no relationship with him now. I didn't go into detail with Gu Xingzhou about the history between Qin Yangshu and me. Even though Gu Xingzhou and I are friends, these matters are still private in my eyes. Great, that's wonderful news. I always thought Qin Yangshu was a bit off, so breaking up with him was a very wise decision. Upon hearing my words, Gu Xingzhou said happily, and I thought I even caught a hint of smug satisfaction on his face. But as soon as Gu Xingzhou noticed my gaze, his expression quickly returned to normal. I just thought I must have been seeing things. It's only natural that Gu Xingzhou would be happy for me about the divorce, but if he was secretly delighted, that wouldn't be right. I brushed that fleeting feeling aside. Seeing this, Gu Xingzhou even offered me some comfort. There are plenty of good men in the world. Him leaving you is his loss, not yours. You're already abroad now, so just settle down and build a good life here. Don't dwell on what happened before. All those things, and all those people, are in the past now. As Gu Xingzhou spoke, his expression grew serious. I looked at him and nodded. You're right, I've already let go of all those things. 22 Soon, Gu Xingzhou took me to the villa arranged by the Su family. Gu Xingzhou also put a lot of effort into this villa since we've kept in touch all these years. He knows my preferences very well. The villa's interior design style and all the various decorations inside are things I had mentioned to Gu Xingzhou before. Seeing the villa's large floor-to-ceiling windows and the garden in front of them lifted my spirits considerably. Her gaze towards Gu Xingzhou held an extra touch of gratitude. I really love this decor style. You put so much thought into it. These ornaments must have been hard to find around here, right? Gu Xingzhou waved his hand dismissively, indicating he hadn't really done anything. He looked at me intently, his eyes brimming with emotion. For some reason, I suddenly felt a twinge of unease, but quickly, I pushed that strange feeling down. How could Gu Xingzhou possibly like me? We've known each other for so many years, and he's never once hinted at such an intention. No matter how I think about it, I feel like I'm just overthinking things. At that thought, I shook my head to clear my mind. Only after everything was settled did Gu Xingzhou look at me to say goodbye. I've thought a lot about what I'd do when you arrived, wishing I could show you everything today, but I think what you need most right now is sleep. We have all the time in the world. After you wake up, I'll take you to all the places we talked about. He winked at me, a silent promise that our plan still stood. I smiled. Shouldn't we be focusing on our careers after today? With how busy we'll be, finding free time won't be easy. I let out a teasing laugh. Gu Xingzhou looked at my face and smiled. Don't worry, we have all the time in the world. With that, he left me in peace. Having first left me his address in M country, the thought I had suppressed was reignited and grew stronger by Gu Xingzhou's behavior. But since Gu Xingzhou didn't bring it up, I naturally wouldn't be the one to point it out. Let's just pretend it was my imagination. 23 After tidying everything up, I lay in bed, and in a daze, felt a sense of unreality. My 5-year marriage to Qin Yangshu seems to have changed me a great deal, but now, it's as if I've returned to my old self. It seems those 5 years didn't really change anything after all. Just yesterday, I was still in City S, acting out those cliché romantic scenes with Qin Yangshu. Even though I didn't do it, I didn't bother to confess because I knew I wouldn't be believed. He was my husband of 5 years, yet in the crucial moment, he stood by someone else's side without a second thought. The whole thing felt utterly absurd, but now, I'd broken free from it all and taken back control of my own life. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but perhaps it was because the bedding Gu Xingzhou prepared was so perfectly to my liking. In just a few minutes, I was fast asleep when I woke again. The morning sun was already streaming in. A sound came from downstairs. After getting ready and heading down, I was surprised to find Gu Xingzhou there. He was holding a plate of breakfast, a happy smile on his face. "Panxia, you're awake. Look, I brought you some breakfast. I made some of it myself. I've picked up quite a few cooking skills during my years in M country. Give it a try." I couldn't bring myself to refuse under the hopeful gleam in his eyes. In the end, I polished off that huge breakfast and was so stuffed I nearly rolled my eyes back. It was only after arriving at Su Corporation that my real challenge truly began. I've done plenty of work like this before, but now, I'm facing a completely new market, staff allocation, everything. I need to think it all through carefully. Time always flies when you're busy. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. With Gu Xingzhou's help, I gradually became familiar with the work at Su Corporation. The transformation efforts at Su Corporation were in full swing. I had thought everything would continue to develop slowly like this, and that Qin Yangshu and I would likely never cross paths again, but I never expected that a single business gathering would change everything. I actually ran into Qin Yangshu in the parking lot after the event. "Panxia, I've finally found you." His voice carried a hint of weariness, but it was mostly filled with excitement. For a moment, I didn't even want to turn around. I turned to leave without another word, but the next second, Qin Yangshu grabbed my hand with a hint of hurt in his voice. He said, "Panxia, why won't you answer me? It's been almost half a year since we last met. I've been looking for you for so long. I thought we might never see each other again, but it seems fate has been kind to me after all." I frowned deeply, unsure of how to answer him. For a moment, I had so much I wanted to say, but I swallowed the words back down. Why was Qin Yangshu here? I knew that if Qin Yangshu wanted to find me, my address was hardly a secret, but I never imagined Qin Yangshu would come looking for me. After all, didn't my departure just play right into his and Lin Yuling's hands? But now, Qin Yangshu is already here. Instead of asking why he's here, I might as well just ask him directly what he wants. With that thought, I decided to settle this matter once and for all. "Qin Yangshu, what did you want to see me about?" Qin Yangshu's excited expression froze instantly. He looked at me with disbelief, as if he couldn't comprehend what I was saying. 24. The past 6 months had wrought a profound change in Qin Yangshu. Though he retained his former handsome features, he had grown alarmingly gaunt. His eyes were also rimmed with red, as if he had just been crying before setting off. Even though his attire seemed unchanged, an air of sinister gloom now clung to him. Qin Yangshu stared into my eyes, his entire body freezing in place. The look I gave him was as if I were looking at a complete stranger. In just half a year, the change was this profound. It's as if he never truly saw me. How could I have looked at him that way? I am his wife. For the past 5 years of our marriage, he was the one I loved most. No matter how much we argued, if he apologized, I would always forgive him, no matter when. The look in my eyes when I gazed at him was always filled with emotion. Qin Yangshu was absolutely certain that I must have loved him. Therefore, for the past 5 years, he had taken it for granted and ignored the voice in his own heart. After Lin Yurong returned to the country, he went even further, contacting her without the slightest hesitation and with no regard for my feelings. He thought I would always be there waiting for him, just a short distance away. He believed that no matter what he did wrong, as long as he apologized and tried to make amends, I would always take him back. But now, he can no longer be sure. The love in my eyes is gone. When I look at him now, there's not a flicker of emotion. He was desperate to reclaim everything he had lost. "Panxia, I know I was wrong. I'm sorry for the past 5 years. I'm sorry I couldn't see my own heart clearly. I'm sorry that, even though I knew how much it hurt you, I still kept seeing Lin Yurong behind your back. I'm sorry for taking Lin Yurong's side in your conflicts. I know everything now. I understand now why you did what you did at the hospital back then. I know I misunderstood you. I'm truly sorry. I wasn't a good husband. I wasn't even a decent one." As Qin Yangshu spoke, his eyes began to well up. During the 6 months I was away, Qin Yangshu experienced many hardships he had never known before. He learned the truth about so many things from the past. His impression of Lin Yuling was constantly being reshaped. He truly never imagined that Lin Yuling had done so many things behind his back. After I uncovered the truth, she even resorted to self-harm to frame me, fearing I would tell him everything. And back then, he believed Lin Yuling without a moment's hesitation. It wasn't until later, when he learned it was all a performance orchestrated by Lin Yuling herself, that Qin Yangshu finally understood the despair I had felt, knowing he wouldn't be believed. He didn't even try to defend himself. What an agonizing thing to endure. At the thought, Qin Yangshu felt as if a knife had been driven straight through his heart. He couldn't stop himself from reaching out to hold me back. I want to make up for the hurt I caused back then, but it's too late now. I know his apology now is completely sincere. But it all comes too late. I've completely let go of the past. At first, I thought my relationship with Qin Yangshu was an arranged marriage because I had feelings for Qin Yangshu. I was the one who took the initiative from the very beginning, but later, his thoughtfulness towards me made me fall even deeper under the weight of all those illusions. I thought we were in love, but when Lin Yurong returned to the country, I finally realized that everything from the start had been nothing but a mirage. It turns out that Qin Yangshu and I were wrong for each other from the very beginning. From that foolish bet and that sham marriage certificate onward, our fate was sealed. There was never going to be a happy ending for us. 25. With that thought, I looked earnestly at Qin Yangshu before me and said, I've already forgotten everything that happened before. You can forget it too. I accept your apology. Back then, your heart wasn't free, yet you still agreed to the arranged marriage. You even pretended to be in sync with me afterwards. Since you were in love with Lin Yiling, you never should have agreed to marry me. You even used a bet to humiliate me. You've made our entire marriage feel like a complete joke. Even now, I still feel a surge of anger when I talk about this. It's not because Qin Yangshu can still affect my emotions. It's because that marriage certificate turned out to be a sham. That's what bothers me the most. By acting this way, he showed utter disregard for both me and the Su family. The reason I left wasn't just because of what happened between Qin Yangshu and Lin Yiling. It was more because I felt there was no way for Qin Yangshu and me to continue our life together. I could no longer trust him, nor could I entrust my heart to him again. After hearing my words, Qin Yangshu looked even more heartbroken. He couldn't understand why everything had changed so quickly. Could 5 years of feelings really be erased in just half a year? It wasn't until he heard my words that he truly felt my resolve. Seeing the flicker of disgust on my face, he felt a twisted sense of satisfaction that he could still stir my emotions, yet, he was also genuinely pained by the revulsion I so clearly showed. He clutched desperately at my sleeve, as if it were a lifeline. Panxia, I know I've wronged you, but you can't abandon me now. It was only after you left that I realized how much you truly mean to me. I've fallen completely in love with you. I can't live without you anymore. These past 6 months have been agony, and you're the only cure. As he spoke, his breathing grew ragged. It was as if he was seeing the scene of my departure all over again. From the moment he learned I had left, Qin Yangshu was filled with regret. The sight of my back as I walked away from him at the hospital often appears in his dreams, so resolute, as if I would never look back. I stared at him intently and said, word by word, what's in the past is in the past. Now, I'm actually somewhat grateful you didn't marry me. At least it saved us the trouble of getting a marriage license. I'm leaving. I hope you won't make me think even less of you. I had made myself perfectly clear. Even if Qin Yangshu wanted to keep me here, there was nothing he could do. Just as I was about to get in the car, Gu Xingzhou appeared. Contrary to his usual self, he didn't approach me with a smile. Instead, his face turned cold. Panxia, who is he? 26. As Gu Xingzhou's words hung in the air, Qin Yangshu's face darkened as he asked, Panxia, who is he? He dug his nails deep into his palm, forcing down the panic rising in his heart. No, it can't be that bad. After all these years together, I could clearly see the panic in Qin Yangshu's eyes. In an instant, I understood exactly what he was thinking. I furrowed my brow. While I did want to shake off Qin Yangshu's pestering, I never intended to drag Gu Xingzhou into this mess. Thinking this, I was about to open my mouth and explain, but Gu Xingzhou was faster. He pulled me into his arms in one swift motion, his expression calm, yet a faint smile played at the corner of his lips. I'm Panxia's boyfriend. What gives you the right to ask me that? The words hit Qin Yangshu like a thunderclap, a deafening roar filling his ears. For a moment, his mind went completely blank. Gu Xingzhou's words echoed relentlessly in Qin Yangshu's mind, pushing his sanity to the very brink. It's only been 6 months, just 6 months. How could Panxia Su forget him so quickly, and even find a new boyfriend? He looked at me pleadingly and asked in a trembling voice, Panxia, what he said isn't true, right? He must be lying to me, right? The one you love is clearly me. We're husband and wife. How could you be with someone else? And it's only been half a year. He must be lying. He's lying, isn't he? Qin Yangshu was practically shouting. His eyes were red-rimmed and bloodshot, his entire body wound tight to the breaking point. My attempt to explain was instantly derailed and halted by Gu Xingzhou's interruption. He gently took my hand from behind, signaling for me to help him cover up the lie. Gu Xingzhou had now inserted himself between Qin Yangshu and me. Even if I explain now, it probably won't make a difference. It might even make Qin Yangshu think I still have feelings for him. With that thought, I turned and took Gu Xingzhou's hand. Yes, it's exactly what you see. Gu Xingzhou is my boyfriend. We've been apart for half a year, so isn't it perfectly normal for us to be together? After hearing my answer, Qin Yangshu was utterly speechless, as if the air had been knocked out of him. He thought I would love him forever, but in just half a year, everything had changed. My simple words cut like a knife, plunging deep into Qin Yangshu's heart and leaving him in agony, swallowing his pain. His face contorted as he growled in a low voice, "I don't believe it. You've known each other for 6 months at most. There's no way you could fall for someone like him. You're just trying to get a rise out of me. I won't believe it, Panxia. I know I was wrong. I really do. Please, stop hurting me. I'm in so much pain it feels like I'm dying. Just come back to me, and you can do whatever you want. I only love you, and I'll never contact Lin Yiling again. I only made a small mistake. Why won't you forgive me?" Qin Yangshu still doesn't understand what he did wrong, or rather, he doesn't believe what he did was unforgivable no matter what I say. You can't wake someone who's pretending to be asleep. I'm done wasting my breath on him. I took Gu Xingzhou's hand and turned to leave, but Gu Xingzhou stood his ground. He looked at the haggard, frantic Qin Yangshu and let out a cold laugh. "So you're Panxia's useless ex-husband, is that it?" 27. Hearing that, I was taken aback for a moment. Gu Xingzhou continued, "Oh, wait, that's not right. You were never Panxia's ex-husband because you never officially registered your marriage. At best, you were just a boyfriend she lived with for a while. Since you know you're just an ex-boyfriend, isn't it perfectly normal for Panxia to start seeing someone new after being apart from you for half a year? After all, her ex was a scumbag. Isn't it a good thing that Panxia didn't let herself go to ruin because of a scumbag ex like you? Besides, Panxia and I have known each other since high school. That's much earlier than when you met her, if we're keeping score. But don't worry, when she was with you, she absolutely kept her distance from a male friend like me. Panxia knows how to respect her partner, unlike some people who clearly don't." Gu Xingzhou finished saying all this coldly, then shot Qin Yangshu a mocking smirk. At those words, Qin Yangshu froze completely. The words struck his heart like bullets. It was true. Everything he had done was exactly as Gu Xingzhou had described, yet, even so, he refused to let go. Qin Yangshu looked at me, his voice thick with anguish. "I know I made a mistake, but it's precisely because I made that mistake, because I lost you over it, that I swear I'll never make it again." He hasn't been through this. Aren't you worried he'll make the same mistake? Choose me. Please, forgive me. Please, give me a chance to make everything right. He spoke with such sincerity, it made you stop and really consider his words. Before I could even answer, Gu Xingzhou took my arm with profound tenderness. His gaze was so earnest. I had never realized his acting could be this convincing. I went through so much to finally have my treasure. There's no way I'm letting go. As for the mistakes you mentioned, they simply don't exist. I'll learn from your failures and treat Panxia well. You had a treasure, yet you cast it aside so carelessly, never knowing its true worth. I will take your place, but I will do far better. I will make Panxia happy." At this point, he turned to Qin Yangshu, whose face was contorted with what he had heard, and said, word by deliberate word, "Now, it's time for you to exit the stage." With that, he pulled me into the car without a moment's hesitation. Qin Yangshu was shrieking something incessantly behind us, but I could no longer make out a single word. Gu Xingzhou drove around a few times before finally dropping me off at home. After bringing me to my doorstep, he wasn't in any hurry to leave. I seemed to sense something too and stood there, rooted to the spot. Gu Xingzhou looked at me, his eyes, usually brimming with laughter every day, now filled with tenderness. I didn't know how to react, and for a moment, I just stood there frozen. Gu Xingzhou looked at me earnestly and said, "Panxia, every word I said to that scumbag just now was sincere. I've liked you since high school. Every invitation I extended to you came from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to be with you, but back then, I overlooked so much. Reality isn't as simple as we imagined, and on top of that, I was a coward, so, in the end, I never confessed my feelings to you. Ever since the news of your marriage came out, I've been heartbroken. I thought we had no chance left. But now, I've finally gotten this opportunity. I had intended to take it slow. Perhaps this is also a good time. I should tell you everything, including my feelings and my thoughts." He looked at me and produced a gift box from his hand. Inside was only a single, exceptionally beautiful ring. "I prepared this ring a long time ago, but I never gave it to you. Now, you can choose to accept my feelings, or you can choose not to. I won't force you, but I hope you'll give me a chance." As he spoke, Gu Xingzhou lowered his head, As if awaiting my judgment, I remained silent for a long time, until even Gu Xingzhou began to grow visibly dejected. He slowly withdrew the gift box, his head gradually lifting. The next second, I took the ring box from his hand. 28 Gu Xingzhou looked up in disbelief, as if he hadn't yet grasped what had just happened. A moment later, his eyes suddenly lit up. You said yes, didn't you? A faint smile touched my lips as I looked at the beautiful ring on my finger. I agreed to be with you, but I never agreed to marry you. I looked earnestly at Gu Xingzhou standing before me. To be honest, if he had confessed his feelings to me when I first arrived in M country, I would have flatly refused. After all, even though Qin Yangshu and I had already parted ways and cut ties by then, I truly did love him, so moving on wasn't that simple for me. It was Gu Xingzhou who patiently stayed by my side, accompanying me for half a year. That's precisely why I developed feelings for him. 6 months isn't a long time, but it's not short either. It's time for me to truly step into a new chapter of my life. I now have confidence in both my career and my love life. With that thought, a hint of a smile crept into my eyes as I looked at Gu Xingzhou. You should know, I still can't completely let go of the past just yet. The reason I agreed is because you've been truly good to me lately. Besides, what happened with the Qin family is over. I want to start a new chapter in my life. I can date you, but we won't rush into marriage. In fact, it's highly possible they might never make it to marriage at all. I didn't voice that last thought out loud. I know that Gu Xingzhou wouldn't want to hear any of this right now. Gu Xingzhou looked at me and remained silent for a very, very long time. Just as I thought he couldn't accept what I had said and was about to leave, he finally spoke. Panxia, I'm not that impatient, although I long to hold you in my arms every moment. I know your feelings are what matter most. I will wait for you. I'll wait until you've thought it through. Until you truly accept me from the bottom of your heart. I've already waited for you for many years, from having no hope to finally being with you now. I'm in no hurry, I'll wait patiently. Hearing this, a gentle smile finally graced my lips. Gu Xingzhou softly touched my cheek, his eyes filled with boundless affection. 29 I had thought that after yesterday's events, Qin Yangshu would have known better than to press on, but I never expected that the moment I stepped out today, I would see Qin Yangshu waiting by the roadside. A fine, dense snow had fallen outside the villa last night and hadn't let up since. Snowflakes settled on Qin Yangshu's shoulders, making him look utterly forlorn. Seeing me emerge, he took the initiative to approach. The look he gave me was indescribably complex. Panxia, we need to talk. I was about to refuse, but Qin Yangshu quickly sensed my hesitation and hastily added, just hear me out this once, and I promise I won't bother you again. Hearing that, I didn't say no. I decided to give Qin Yangshu this one chance. After we cleared the air, no matter what he did, I had no intention of ever seeing him again. A flicker of delight appeared on Qin Yangshu's face when he noticed I had stopped. He took me to a nearby cafe. After we sat down, I said nothing, and Qin Yangshu simply watched me in silence. As the seconds ticked by, Qin Yangshu finally couldn't hold back from speaking. Panxia, do you remember the 3rd year of our marriage when we went to see the northern lights? You told me then that you made a wish under the aurora, that we would be together for a lifetime. I paused, and the memory of that time suddenly flashed through my mind. Back then, under the aurora, the smile on Qin Yangshu's face was genuine. Even now, I still believe that to be true. Perhaps, he did have feelings for me during our marriage. It's just that Qin Yangshu never realized it himself, or perhaps he thought I loved him more and couldn't live without him. So, no matter what he did, I would never leave him. I just never expected I could be so resolute. Thinking about those things from the past, I was truly lost in thought for a moment, but I quickly snapped back to reality. After taking a sip of coffee, I said softly, the promises we made were real, but Qin Yangshu, you know as well as I do that what's in the past is in the past. I won't look back anymore, and you should look forward too. Qin Yangshu stared at the expression on my face, momentarily stunned. Before his eyes suddenly welled up with tears, he fixed his gaze on me, a hint of madness in his eyes. Panxia, but I can't let go. Every single night, I think about our life together. Even a criminal deserves a chance to reform. I just want to give us both a chance. I know you were only putting on that act with Gu Xingzhou yesterday to get rid of me. You and Gu Xingzhou aren't really in a relationship, and I won't let you be together. I was startled, my eyes widening as I looked at Qin Yangshu. To my horror, Qin Yangshu's face began to distort and gradually blur in my vision. The next second, I could hold on no longer. My eyes closed and I collapsed to the ground, unconscious. 30 When I came to again, my head was pounding terribly. I instinctively tried to reach up and touch my head, only to find my hands were bound. A sound came from the doorway, and Qin Yangshu walked in, smiling, with a bowl of porridge. "Panxia, you're awake." As he spoke, he reached out to feel my forehead. I jerked my head away from his hand and glared at him coldly. "Qin Yangshu, what the hell do you want? You're the one who wanted to talk." So I agreed. "And now you've tied me up here. Have you lost your mind? You don't actually think no one knows you kidnapped me, do you?" I truly couldn't understand why Qin Yangshu would do something like this. He brought me here by force. The cafe was empty at the time, but I didn't show up for work at Su Corp. My colleagues will notice something's wrong very soon, and Gu Xingzhou, he'll figure out I'm missing in an instant. With all the surveillance cameras from the villa to this cafe, is Qin Yangshu out of his mind? Or has he completely lost it? How naive of you to think you could kidnap me here. My words had no effect on Qin Yangshu whatsoever. He even calmly picked up that bowl of congee, intending to feed it to me. "You've been asleep for so long, you must be hungry, have some congee." As he spoke, he tried to feed the porridge into my mouth on his own. I kept my mouth tightly shut. After what happened at the cafe, I didn't dare let anything that had passed through Qin Yangshu's hands near my mouth. Who knows if that stuff is laced with those drugs? Seeing how insistent I was, Qin Yangshu didn't force the issue, but no matter what I said to him, Qin Yangshu never uttered a single word in reply. As if I didn't exist. After several hours of this, I was starting to feel a bit worn out. When I looked at Qin Yangshu, I couldn't help but feel a growing sense of helplessness. "Qin Yangshu, you know perfectly well you can't keep me locked up for long. Do you really want me to hate you?" I had only said it offhandedly, but to my surprise, the very next second, Qin Yangshu's eyes reddened as if weeping blood, and tears began to fall. "Su Panxia, what do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? I made one mistake, and you've sentenced me to death for it. I truly can't live without you. This is the only way I can keep you by my side, even if just for a moment. I just want to spend a little more time alone with you. Maybe then you'll see how I feel. I just want a chance to make things right." As he spoke, scalding hot tears fell onto me, and I couldn't help but flinch. I never imagined Qin Yangshu's feelings for me ran this deep. I always thought it was just resentment he felt towards me. I never imagined he would take such a risk, all for a moment alone with me. But even so, I know with perfect clarity that he and I have no future. When we were first married, my feelings for Qin Yangshu weren't that deep, but I did hold him in some affection. Now, after all that's happened, not only are my feelings for him gone, but all my trust has vanished as well. A marriage might survive without love, but without trust, it's doomed to fail. Besides, I already agreed to be with Gu Xingzhou last night. There's no question of me changing my mind now. With that thought, I looked steadily at Qin Yangshu and said, "Qin Yangshu, no matter what you've done, there's no chance for us anymore. If at any point in the last 5 years of our marriage, you had realized your feelings for me, we could have made it work. But now, I don't love you anymore. And last night, I already said yes to Gu Xingzhou. You've missed your chance." 31. After hearing my words, Qin Yangshu stared in disbelief, his eyes wide. "Impossible, you're lying to me. How could you? You went back and agreed to be with him just like that." "No, I won't believe it. I refuse to believe it." As he spoke, his hands trembled uncontrollably. Suddenly, as if remembering something, he produced a gift box from behind him. Inside was a complete set of jewelry, carefully preserved, and I knew this set was specifically passed down by the Qin family to their daughters-in-law. Back when I first married Qin Yangshu, I still held some hope for that set of jewelry. I wondered when Mother Qin would finally hand it over to me, but I never expected that. From the very beginning, Mother Qin's attitude toward me was rather poor. Naturally, I never got to lay eyes on that jewelry set. After I chose to leave Qin Yangshu, I put everything about the Qin family completely out of my mind. I never imagined this set of jewelry would reappear before me under such dramatic circumstances. At this thought, I cast a complicated glance in Qin Yangshu's direction. He didn't notice my gaze. Instead, with trembling hands, he took out a necklace and tried to place it around my neck. "Panxia, look, I knew you'd love this jewelry set. It was always meant to be yours, even though it didn't make it to you when we got married. It's yours now." His eyes were full of fervor as he spoke, deceiving even himself. No matter what I said, Qin Yangshu didn't stop what he was doing. Just as the necklace was about to be clasped around my neck, a tremendous crash suddenly erupted from the doorway. The next second, the apartment door was kicked wide open. Qin Yangshu's eyes widened in shock, but before he could react, he was violently shoved aside by a furious Gu Xingzhou. "Get out, get the hell out. You have no right to be here. This is my home with Panxia. Who let you in, you bitch? Don't you dare think you can take Panxia away from me." With a face twisted in rage, Qin Yangshu lunged at Gu Xingzhou before he could even regain his balance. The two of them were quickly locked in a brawl. Because Qin Yangshu had been drowning his sorrows in drink for the past 6 months, and on top of that, he hadn't slept for days while planning my kidnapping. By the time Gu Xingzhou found him, he was already running on fumes, even fueled by his own rage. He managed to throw a punch at Gu Xingzhou, but the next second, he was knocked flat on his back. Qin Yangshu was on the verge of being beaten to death by Gu Xingzhou. With great difficulty, I untied the ropes behind me and grabbed Gu Xingzhou's hand at the very last second. That's enough. Don't kill him, I'm safe now. Don't ruin your own life for his sake. After my repeated pleas, Gu Xingzhou finally stopped. Though he was still seething with anger, he turned and pulled me into a tight embrace, holding me so fiercely it felt as if he wanted to press me into his very bones. Soon after, I felt a damp warmth against my neck. Gu Xingzhou was crying, his voice choked with emotion as he spoke. I'm sorry, I failed to protect you. You must have been terrified, right? I should have found you sooner. No, I should have picked you up for work that day. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, he never would have taken you. Gu Xingzhou's voice was laced with boundless panic even as he held me in his arms. His mind was racing with other possibilities. What if Qin Yangshu, unable to bear the provocation, were to? What would he do then? And even if none of that happened, if Qin Yangshu took me back to our home country and he could never see me again, what then? He had waited so long for this one chance to be with me, to have it and then lose it. Gu Xingzhou felt he was going to go mad. 1,000 thoughts tangled in his mind, making him hold on tighter and tighter. Uncontrollably, the police officers following Gu Xingzhou swarmed forward and pinned Qin Yangshu to the ground. Under Qin Yangshu's resentful gaze, I returned Gu Xingzhou's embrace. It's okay, I'm fine now. You did it. You saved me. Qin Yangshu has been arrested. Just relax. Alright. Qin Yangshu wanted to say something more, but the police didn't give him the chance. Before being led away, he gave me one last, deep look, as if to sear my image into his memory. Gu Xingzhou didn't let go of me until the sun outside was nearly set. I took his hand and walked slowly forward, bathed in the last of the light. I won't look back on the past. In the future, whether I have someone by my side or not, I will see this through to the end. The end.